right, everybody, it's that time again. Time to be live. Go live. I've got the chat on. We'll see how that goes. Behave yourselves. What the hell do we need to talk about this week? I mean, just checking in. I think it's been a few days since I've done this. It's raining and crappy outside. It's Halloweenus. Happy Halloween, everybody. So it's a good time to just kind of stay inside and I mean, October went fast. It's already fucking cold and shitty. And so, I mean, last winter was rough enough. And Trump was only the fucking president for like January 20th on. So who knows what the fuck this winter is going to bring. People's SNAP benefits are being canceled and shit. I heard this lady on the street the other day. It sounded really dramatic. That's why it kind of hit me. I was walking down Columbus, down by the Whole Foods and shit, and this lady was talking into her phone, and she said something about how she had given some guy her SNAP benefits so many times, and she needed like him to help her, and he couldn't do it or something. So I don't know. That was just kind of a weird thing to hear, that like kind of like just made this I mean, not that SNAP benefits are even really that much fucking, like it's hard to get SNAP benefits. And even when you do, like the maximum you can get, I don't even know, it's like a few $100s a month, and that's in New York. Let's see. What is the maximum you can SNAP benefits you can get? For a one person, it's $298. What is that, a fucking week or a month? I think that's a month. That's not really that much money for a whole fucking month of food for one person. $298. There you go. Okay. Maximum gross monthly income. You have to, the maximum 1562, or else you're ineligible for SNAP. So, that's not even that much money. I mean, how would you even survive on, $1,600? I've applied for SNAP a couple times and got rejected every time. So, like a lot of these fucking government programs, they do everything they can to prevent you from getting them. And then it's not even, $298 a month. My own budget, right? My personal budget for my life, or it was, I don't know what it is anymore, but like I try to spend like $15 a day on food and expenses and everything total. Maybe $20, including everything. That's $600 a month. If you spend $20 a day, 30 days, that's $600 a month on food. That's twice as much as the fucking SNAP benefits. Like, oh my God, you hear that rain? I was trying to get like a nice like rain angle here. Unfortunately, I don't have a tripod for this, or a podium or anything. So, it's already like not going to help you even that much. The idea that you'd be able to live off these SNAP benefits, $298 a month. It is a month, right? It's not a week. Or it's just getting warmed up here, people. No one's watching, so I could literally just sit here doing nothing and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, each month. So you get $298 a month to feed yourself. And you can't buy hot food. Only shit from the grocery store. God damn, it is really coming down out there. It's Thursday afternoon. It's prime time for streaming. So it's already a fucking joke. You know, the people that are in those programs, I don't know. It's just like Ashley has SNAP benefits. I don't know how she's eligible, but like I said, I've applied a couple times. I've got Medicaid, but for some reason, I just am not. I think, I don't know, you have to have a lot of paperwork or something. I probably shouldn't be, right? Like if you just looked at my like socioeconomic profile or something, middle-aged 40-year-old white male, hetero, college degree, you know, I probably should get a job. And not even be applying for SNAP benefits. I should be a productive member of society. It's the mayor's race. This is another big part of this, right? Mamdani, Cuomo, Sliwa, three-way dance. How are New Yorkers feeling about this? I think it's a lock. But I mean, it seems like they really are willing to go to like lengths to even prevent Mamdani from even like. That's what's really scary about it, and what's revealing about it is just like, I think, didn't Trump or the Republicans are saying they're going to deport him. They're going to deport Mamdani because they don't want him to be the mayor. Like, that's anti-democratic, you know? Like, it's just weird to me how vitriolic the hatred against this guy is. Like, I guess he's a polarizing figure, even from the Democrats, right? Even from Cuomo, and they talk about Mamdani like he's like this interloper, like with like disdain. They talk about him like he's like some kind of rude house guest or something, and it's like, to me, what he's proposing is not even that fucking radical. You know, like I haven't heard him say anything yet that I'm like, holy shit, it's not like Trump. You know, it's not like we're going to just do whatever the hell we want and bulldoze the White House and convert all the currency to fucking crypto, and they're reinstituting nuclear tests. I saw that today. They're going to do the first nuclear tests in over 30 years. The peace president and the Department of War is going to reinstitute the nuclear program. Well, this is something I wanted to talk about was, you know, people bitch about the sort of post-war order, and that's sort of what's been undone by Trump, the way that NATO and the United States and the allied nations were sort of like this, like, you know, corporate democracy, imperialists-ish, sort of like, I don't know, benevolent imperialist or shadow imperialist or something. But like a big reason why there was this sort of like political gridlock is because of nuclear fucking weapons. It's because they dropped atom bombs in World War II, and it was so terrible and horrific that the entire human race just decided, like, let's never let this happen again. Let's do everything we can to like create a kind of static state where there won't be escalation and there won't be Doctor Strangelove. There won't be mutual assured destruction. There won't be nuclear apocalypse. That was part of the reason why, America had to bitch slap the Japanese to just show everybody, like, look, chill the fuck out, all right? Only we can conduct illegal wars. I'm just gonna tape over this fucking. I wish they didn't display how many people were watching. I really just don't care. I don't even need to know. It's not about that, okay? How do I need some tape. Tape here. And for better or for worse, it did work. Like, there has been all these, like, Vietnam and all these conflicts and shit here and there, but, like, they didn't drop a fucking nuke. Nobody did. And that kind of, like, stalemate, I think, was a victory of sorts. Whereas now it's just like, let's inflame all the fucking tensions. Let's piss everybody off. Let's kick the hornet's nest. And things are escalating quickly, I would say. The peace president, I think he wants to get into a war as quickly as fucking possible before the midterms, ideally. Probably this winter, I would say. I would say that it's, like, pretty unlikely that we'll come out of this winter without being in a war. That's when the Ukraine thing started. It started, like, in March, February 22. So I would say it's pretty unlikely. I think what did he say? He said this thing about, they wanted to tear down the East Wing at night. He asked them, can they do it at night? Fuck, can they do it at night? When they told Trump it'd be easier and faster to just tear the fucking thing down, he goes, fuck, can they do it at night? And winter is like the night of the country. And so, they're escalating shit with the National Guard in these cities. They've already said if Mamdani is elected, Trump is very opposed to that. He will probably either arrest him or, he said that he'll more or less, like, take control of the city. So that's not democracy. That's not something that a typical president would do. Or, like, if their political opponent got elected in some fucking city, they would go in and, like, take control of the city, because that's just saying all of these people canvassing, all of these people who vote for Mamdani, who are passionate about it, their voices don't count. Which, like, that is antithetical to democracy. That's the whole point of our fucking country. Just, maybe it's fake, maybe it's corporate, maybe it's, but, like, we don't go outright into fucking our own country and, like, we find subtler ways to trick people into, voting against their best interests, or, they usually try to find some way to persuade people into whatever, however they want to control them. Whereas now it's just like, you voted for Mamdani, fuck you. Doesn't count. We're going to deport the guy because he's a communist. Like, give me a fucking break. Like, the idea that billionaires are going to leave or something is absurd. Like, there's nowhere to go. He's not going to raise the fucking taxes that much. He's going to raise the corporate tax rate. It's just amazing that they're convincing people that that's like communism or something. Like getting billionaires, this is why. And this is one thing that I will say, like Bernie and Mamdani, like part of the reason why they're so successful is because their message is so fucking simple. They boil it down to like billionaires, tax the billionaires, tax the billionaires. It's that fucking simple. Like that is why our society sucks now. Because people are hoarding wealth rather than reinvesting it in bettering our world. There's not even philanthropy. At least during the fucking Gilded Age, there was like these philanthropists, right? Carnegie and there's none of that now. It's like it's just we want to hoard wealth for our fucking spaceships that we're building. Which I think, for these rich guys, the thing with space, it's just as much about keeping their own money as it is. They don't really give a fuck about going to space. It's like that's the only thing they can find that where they can spend that money. They have more money than it would be possible to spend any other way. Like, how would you spend $300 billion? Like, you couldn't do it. The most expensive apartment is like $300 million. That's such a, that's what, 0.1%? Like the most expensive yacht, the most expensive private jet. It's like they haven't invented anything expensive enough for a Jeff Bezos. Like it would literally be impossible for them to spend their money. They're richer than most countries. And yet, people have been brainwashed into thinking that it's like, government interference. These guys earned it. It's just like when you have so much fucking money, it just loses meaning. And so they need to justify a reason for being so rich. Oh, you can't take I'm going to space. I'm going to Mars. I'm building the future. In fact, the government should give me more money. The government should give me tax rebates. And I should replace NASA. This is what's happening is like people think that Trump is like, destroying the corrupt government, draining the swamp, getting rid of the deep state. The CIA is such a fucking scapegoat for everything. People just blame everything on the fucking CIA. It's like these things aren't going away. Like they're just being transferred to these businesses. Like Larry Ellison was in the fucking CIA, in the 70s. Let's fact check this real fast. Okay. Larry Ellison's Oracle started as a CIA project. Gizmodo. This is from 2014. Blah, blah, blah. Vox wrote an article about the entire history of Oracle and its founder, Larry Ellison, without mentioning the CIA even once, which is pretty astounding given the fact that Oracle takes its name from a 1977 CIA project code name and that the CIA was Oracle's first customer. Blah, blah, blah. Recognize the potential demand for a commercial database product. Ellison founded the company that became Oracle in 1977 because, the CIA needs databases just like any large organization. But not mentioning how reliant Oracle has been on government contracts since its inception. Okay, so this is talking about some other article that didn't mention. Oracle has pulled in billions of dollars each year working for governments at all levels for all manner of projects. The most high profile of late being the disaster that was the Oregon Health Insurance Exchange. Blah, blah, blah. Ellison has always been a big believer in the federal government maintaining large national databases, and he was able to be much more public about it in the months after the September 11th attacks. Ellison argued that we needed just one large national security database, one with national ID cards and mandatory iris scans. The single greatest step we Americans could take to make life tougher for terrorists would be to ensure that quote, that all the information in myriad government databases was copied into a single comprehensive national security database, unquote. Larry Ellison wrote in the New York Times in January of 2002. So he was already thinking about creating this national database surveillance thing after 9/11 in the fucking 70s. He has been, and so look at what they use the internet for. What has the internet become? It's become just a series of these databases. That is all it is. You know, I remember when I started doing video stuff in 2012, we were doing these videos for educational nonprofit, and they made it clear that, you know, the videos were valuable, but and the edits and all of that stuff was important. But part of what was crucial about the video was like the metadata. The metadata was like as valuable as anything we were shooting. And you know, the internet has just become like this big collection of fucking data. That's what all of these they use the idea that we can become influencers. You know, they tease us with this, you know, certain people are tokenized and picked out to be, you know, carrots on the stick for the rest of us. They're the sort of new celebrities, these influencers. They're probably reinforcing what the state wants us to believe. That's why they're successful in the algorithm. The algorithm is probably just a guy picking what gets boosted, to be honest. Oh, yeah, let's boost Rogan, boost Andrew Schultz, boost fucking Theo Vaughn, boost Jordan Peterson, you know, boost, you know, gooning. We want all these guys gooning or whatever. Boost cleavage. We want everybody to be suffering, isolated, polarized, fragmented on their goddamn phones, feeding us their secrets. And so you might become an influencer too if you get on the internet and film your friends, film your family, you know, make videos all the fucking time, film the world, facial recognition software. You might become a celebrity. You might become an influencer and escape, you know, manual labor hell life. You'll travel around. You'll have fucking, you know, fancy dinners. You'll vlog it. You'll take pictures of it. You'll get Instagram face. You'll start to look like fucking Madison Beer or whatever. You'll have these weird looking eyebrows. Everything about you will be like fake tan. Your nose, it'll look like you got a nose job even if you didn't. It's clean girl aesthetic. I can't believe nobody's watching this. It's Thursday. I mean, I guess it's early, but Jesus Christ, this is, see, we're getting warmed up here. I've got the chat on and everything. I must be fucking shadow banned because of my fucking truth. You know, like the design of the internet has become just like these various collection databases, all of it. Instagram, Facebook, your messages, your email. It's like there's nothing else. They don't really want you to have like a fucking website for your business. They want you to have like an Instagram page where they can control all of your DMs. You know, that's something on the Easy Paradise Instagram. Like sometimes I'll message somebody back and this thing will pop up that will be like, was this helpful for your business? Was this message helpful for your business? Yes or no? It's like, what the fuck are you doing in my DM? You shouldn't be looking at this shit. They own everything. They own our relationships. They own our correspondence. They own our nudes. The phone, it hears everything, and it's been allowed to. It's like everybody's wearing a wire everywhere you go. Your phone is a wire. It's just like you're wired at all times. There is no privacy. I guess what I'm saying is, like, everybody realizes this. This is obvious, but the idea that this guy uh is the richest guy in the world. He's going to buy TikTok, right? Larry Ellison is going to buy fucking TikTok. That seems important. And his son is going to own fucking Paramount, Skydance, Warner Brothers, Discovery, the whole fucking media. He's going to own CBS, right? They've already put Barry Weiss in at CBS News. So it seems important that these guys are like CIA operative, Zionist, they're incredibly powerful. Is Larry Ellison the richest guy in the world, isn't he? Or it's a lot of it is because these government contracts and shit. And so it's not like, we're tearing down the legacy media, we're tearing down the monoculture. It's like it's just shifting. It's shifting into different hands. And it's this illusion of, a democracy of voices. They're just picking the people that are saying what they want people to hear. However they want to torture us psychologically through these devices, make us suffer. Our mental health is in the fucking toilet. We're alone. We're isolated. I'm talking into a fucking, pinhole camera to zero people. No one has even clicked this. How is that possible? I've been doing this 30 minutes. Seriously, not a single person has clicked this. I got 479 subscribers, God damn it. You should just send an email blast. Why isn't there a notification? Every time I go live, every single person should get a notification. See, they could do that. They have that power. Trump can send a fucking Amber Alert to everybody or whatever. He can text everybody at once. And so it is kind of a scary time because there's less and less outlets for dissent. Everything is on social media now, and it almost feels like that shit's more real, or that's the real world. And like this world is like not as important. It feels like everything that's important is like you need to be online. You need to be building your brand. You need to be fucking getting likes, getting views, making content, get on LinkedIn. I need some kind of resume. I need a job. So it's just it's a dupe. It's like, oh yeah, we're tearing down these citadels of like condescension and like, aren't you glad that NBC News is like MSNBC is like going in the fucking tank? Like, do we really need to hear these libtard propagandists trying to force feed us Hillary and Kamala and these neolibs, those neoliberals on MSNBC? I'd rather watch fucking Channel 5 or my podcaster of choice, Hassan Piker. Stavi. Whoever the fuck it is. Theo Vaughn. Nick Fuentes. uh, Aiden Ross. Apparently, there's all these women that like Aiden or Nick Fuentes. There's all these women that have like a crush on Nick Fuentes for some reason. That's sick. It's sick. I mean, I wonder why they platform these leftist podcasters. It's kind of interesting to me that like they allow that stuff to get through, or like how is Hassan Piker and Bernie and Mamdani? You know, how have they gotten through? You know, why has Hassan Piker become like, you know, he's really, I mean, he seems more like, I mean, not that he's a comedian, but like he's like the Gen Z political voice, you know, like he's a Chad, he's mogging, and he's just definitive about his points of view on everything. Is he Islamic? You know, to the left, it is important that their icons, their heroes, their leaders be like very not American feeling. They don't want some white guy with an English name, you know. That's just like not, you know, it's like it's part of it that they're uh I mean, and that's maybe that's like part of the free Palestine thing too, is like Palestine is sort of a proxy for like, I don't know, brown people in a certain way. Uh Islamic world, Arab world. Uh I was reading this Zadie Smith thing about Gaza, Trump Gaza, and he was talking about the global South, the idea of American, what is it? American. It was a good phrase. Oh fuck. Uh, is like predicated on some kind of like suffering, othered, kind of like global South, brown, Islamic terrorists, whatever. You know, like there, people have to suffer for the like. Oh my god, just to have like the American dream. You know, and so I think, you know, the left is sort of trying to undo that, and you know, a lot of the new left is you know, the country is not as fucking white as it was 40 years ago, like, and so the Democratic Party is sort of the coalition of, you know, although it's not, you know, not everybody who's brown or Asian is a fucking Democrat. A lot of immigrants are fucking like super goddamn conservative, and they're super strong people. And okay, let's just relax. Somebody did tune in. I just had a viewer. They stayed for about 5 seconds. Why even click it? What do you think I'm going to be doing? You think I'm going to be playing some fucking video game or something? Like, I don't do that here, okay? It's not what this is. This is me meandering around, sort of fucking. I'm puttering. I'm puttering with ideas here, okay? I think we're mapping out some important shit here. Adam S. in the house. I turned the chat back on, brother. Thank you for sticking with us through all of the last 10 months of no chat. Thanks for watching my poetry videos too. I appreciate that, brother. That's right. No more. You're the king. You're number one in the chat. You deserve the crown. That's right. No more communicating through the like button. Now you actually have can articulate your responses. You're no longer just held down and you're no longer voiceless, okay? We're no longer censoring the thank you, Adam S. I don't know if I'm up or coming, but I am a content something. I'm a content foister. I'm a content. This is almost like an accident. Is this content? Does this even technically qualify it as content? I'm not even sure at this point. Who the fuck can tell anymore? Where's the content end and the life begin? I don't even fucking know. It's just all one big content fucking. Oh, hell yes. Like, thank you. Thank you. Bob Barker is my hero. I mean, yeah, thank you. The Price is Right. Bob Barker is, I mean, when I was like my first hero was, I don't know if people remember Double Dare, but I love fucking Double Dare on Nickelodeon when I was like probably 1989, 90, 91. Mark Summers. Mark Summers was a host of Double Dare. And he's probably about the most like neutral, like human being you could imagine. He's just like your average white guy, middle-aged. He's not super, he's not really that charismatic. He's not that funny, really. He doesn't say, that's kind of what game show hosts are, like Trebek. Trebek has like a presence or something, but like, he's not really a comedian. He's just kind of like, what the fuck do these people, what does Pat Sajak do? Like, what the fuck does that guy do? He just kind of looks like a normal guy. He's just this sort of like affable, nice kind of fucking boy next door type. Is that right? Or he could be your neighbor. Hi, neighbor. He's like, and so what is it that makes a game show host? I feel like Mark Summers is like the knee plus ultra of that. And so I don't know. I've always wanted to be a fucking game show host, basically. I'd love to get Howie Mandel's job. You know how fucking much money Howie Mandel made off of fucking Deal or No Deal? If you get one of these game shows, like, you make way more money doing like the fucking Masked Singer or some shit. Or what's that show Rob Lowe is on? Rob Lowe is like a fucking game show host now. They shoot them all in Ireland. It's cheaper to go to Ireland with Rob Lowe than film it like in LA or New York or something, or Atlanta. They go to fucking, Bob Barker is kind of he's got like a Riz. He's a sex symbol, I think, in a way. There's something about The Price is Right that's just he's a pimp. It's him and all these women. He hits on these models. Barker's beauties. He's into Pete. He's like Hugh Hefner. Like him, Hugh Hefner, the guy that plays Get Smart, Don Adams. They all kind of have a similar, like, pipe smoking, mid-60s, swinging. They're swingers. And Bob Barker is tan as fuck. I mean, you got to give it to that tan. I love watching the fucking Price is Right as a kid. Staying home from school, seeing the Showcase Showdown. I don't think Drew Carey is like an appropriate replacement. I think you can. There's like the downfall of America in one. Like, Drew Carey's talented and funny and everything, but like, you can trace how far we've fallen. That is a fucking downgrade. I'm sorry. To go from Bob Barker, this sleek, kind of like El Dorado of a human being. Now that's a classic. He's like a fucking Cadillac. To Drew Carey, who's like, an Ozempic kind of like minivan or something. I don't know. He's all right, but Jesus Christ. I mean, what happened? When men were men, Bob Barker. He's kind of masculine. He can kick. Bob couldn't be upstaged. He couldn't have somebody sexier than him. But I don't think there's like, who do they get? They get Ryan Seacrest or something. Or they get Rob Lowe. Like, come on. What happened to the Bob Barkers of the world? That name, Drew Carey. Just give me a break. I mean, it's just not the same at all. He's like, he's dad bod. That's the dad bodification. The day that dad bod became like the fucking like hot male archetype, like what the fuck? That was a serious mistake, ladies. I don't know why you're into that. You're encouraging men to just like get beer fat. What is sexy about that? It's Freudian. Dad bod is completely Freudian. It's another one of these like daddy. I want my daddy. My daddy is middle-aged, beer fat. He's schlubby. He's let himself go. He's just a football-watching, lazy boy, Budweiser. So there's Drew Carey. I mean, Drew Carey, come on. It's like, in what world is this guy like? Not that he's not, like, I'm sure he does fine. I'm sure Drew Carey, like, is a ladies' man, even, probably. But it's like, who cares? He doesn't look like, you got to look like it. You got to wear, like, your slippers and fucking smoking jacket and shit. Well, that show is all about consumerism and like sort of like luxury-ish. It's like taking welfare people with no jobs in the middle of the day on a weekday and like creating this like the whole point of the show is guessing how much the shit costs. It's like completely training people to like buy shit. Oh, I need a new washer. It's a housewife. I need a new refrigerator. I need a new washer and dryer. I need a new wouldn't it be amazing if I want a trip to Hawaii and a new car and a new like wooden furniture set with fucking like a TV that's like a fucking piece of furniture, like a wooden, like a TV, like in a tree trunk. Like fucking The Price is Right, baby. There you go. Barker donated his $70 million fortune to animal charities. Yeah, there's a building on Sunset Boulevard in LA that it's the Bob Barker building, and it's like where PETA is and shit. Like he must have had a vasectomy. Yeah, Bob Barker looks like a vasectomy. He really didn't have any kids, huh? That's interesting. He was truly living that life. He was not, he's like Bill Maher. He never got married. Or was he married? Did Barker have like a bunch of fucking like horrible marriages? He probably never got married. He probably just like slayed his whole life. He's like, I'm good. I live in Malibu. I have the greatest job in the world. I've got a super long microphone. My microphone is like a fucking like TV antenna. One marriage, 1945 to 1981. Holy shit. Was he in the war? He must have been in the war. He had to have been in WW2. He was probably in Okinawa or some shit. He probably killed a bunch of people. He's like, I killed 16 men with my bare hands. Then I came home. I was married for 35 fucking years to my wife, who I loved. And then I became the fucking game show host of the biggest pimp shit. The whole fucking show is pimp shit. His fucking microphone is pimp shit. All the women are kissing him and shit. He's spinning that fucking wheel. I used to love that wheel. I don't know why. Navy fighter pilot. There you go. Was he in the Pacific? He seems like a Pacific guy. He doesn't seem like he went to Europe. He seems like one of these guys that was in like Guadalcanal or some shit. Bob Barker. That's when men were men, god damn it. Where did Drew Drew Carey was in the army, actually. Oh, he didn't see combat. Fuck. Okay. Now you pussy. Bob Barker, you're a pussy, man. Well, hell, he served his country. That's crazy. He didn't see combat. He was more valuable here. We needed somebody to host, these fucking consumerist game shows. He's more valuable. He's probably a CIA plant or something. Honestly, is Barker CIA? He probably is. Okay. He was on the island. Okay. He was too good looking. They're like, this guy's too much of a fucking stud. We need him here. Well, Drew Carey was in the army or something. I think he may have been in Desert Storm. I'm pretty sure, or Drew Carey was definitely actually pretty serious in the army. I'm pretty sure he was like a fucking major or something. I don't know exactly the history there, but Drew Carey was like there's pictures of him in the army where you're like, fuck, this guy's not just some fucking dude from Parma. Speaking of which, I did like the Drew Carey show. It's popped up on my TikTok a few times recently. Being from Ohio, that was like representation to us. Oh, this is something I wanted to talk about. Just how being from Ohio, this video popped up in my TikTok, and I think it was like the 30 worst sergeant. There you go. Sergeant Drew Carey of Whose Line Is It Anyway fame. He imported Whose Line. I think that's Drew Carey's biggest cultural contribution. Giving us Ryan Stiles, Colin Mockery, and Wayne Brady. Bringing them to America. He's cool. There's a reason why he's a success in show business. The Drew Carey show was very innovative. He put Craig Ferguson on fucking TV, who's also like a super stud. The flirting master of fucking late night, Craig Ferguson. Who knows how that guy does what he does. But this video popped up in my TikTok, the 30 worst franchises in sports. And the very first one, number one, the Cleveland Browns. Talking about just how the Browns are the worst fucking, I think a couple years they went 0-16. They had what, Johnny Manziel or whatever. It's just like they draft the one guy sexually assaulted a bunch of women, and so people don't really understand that coming from Ohio, that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with just it's the Browns. I mean, even their name is like a shit stain. There's nothing positive. Well, I don't know. I guess it's not bad, but we love the Browns. Everybody I know growing up is like a diehard Browns fan. I remember when Art Modell moved the fucking Browns to Baltimore. It was a sad fucking day for a lot of people from Cleveland. And being from Columbus, we didn't even have our own fucking, we had the Buckeyes. We didn't have major league shit. So we weren't even cool enough to be the losers. We had to live vicariously and suction off the fucking Cleveland shit. I was an Indians fan. I was a Browns fan. And they both were just complete factories of sadness. And fucking the Cavs were not much better. I mean, LeBron was there, but Jesus Christ, he lost a lot of fucking times. He remember when he went to Miami? Jesus Christ. The curse of Rocky Colavito. It's just like everything in Ohio was just like, it really feels cursed. It really feels like they are mass producing an expectation that you're just going to be a pathetic loser your whole life. That's what these sports are teaching you. Like I really do think in a way sports is meant to like attenuate people to certain attitudes, one of which is like get used to being a loser. Like there's 32 fucking MLB teams. That means 31 of them are going to lose. And you're either going to be a huge loser and lose like most of your games not even make the fucking playoffs, or you'll like lose in the ACLS or something, which is equally heartbreaking. And so, but I mean, Ohio and Cleveland in particular is really a special place for being a fucking loser. The mistake on the lake. And I like Cleveland. I mean, every time we went there as a kid, it was like, oh, Cleveland, this is like hot stuff. This is like, holy shit. We're in the flats. We're at Jacobs Field. This is insane. It was a big deal when I was fucking 9 years old to go to Jacobs Field and see Albert Bell and shit. And fucking Kenny Lofton. Was like, holy shit. They had a great team. Even though they fucking lost. I mean, they made movies about it. The major league movies. Like, they couldn't have set those fucking movies anywhere else. That's how, like, legendary Cleveland is for fucking losing. And so, that is, like, the psychological... it's not like being from Manhattan where, like, it's the fucking Yankees or whatever. Where just, like, you kick everybody's ass. You're full of, like, this storied history, the most legendary players of the game. Or even, a lot anywhere else. It's a special, cursed, psychologically crippling. I had 2 viewers, they left. Oh, well. Because I started talking about how Cleveland sucks. And so I brought a lot of that baggage to New York with me, I think. It's hard to escape those expectations, like being psychologically primed for, and so the Drew Carey show, which was on in the 90s, my stepdad was from Parma. And so it was crazy. And, he had glasses. Drew Carey kind of looked like us. And it was Ohio representation. There wasn't a lot of that on TV that I can remember. Drew Carey was sort of a local boy made good or whatever, to use the cliche. And so it was an interesting, I mean, they had great musical numbers. They did live episodes. He had that pool table in his backyard. They brewed that coffee beer, Buzz beer. It was innovative. There was a New York episode. I remember one episode they go to New York and get stuck in like a huge traffic jam. I think there may have been crossovers. It was like an inventive show within the form of what it was doing. In the 90s, it felt like they did that. There was a spirit of invention. Vandelay Industries, Kramerica. One of the best things about Seinfeld and Larry David is like he's like this inventor or something. They're in Seinfeld they're really just like playing and making their lives kind of like fun, seeking out eccentric, interesting people, moments, whatever. And I don't know. It does feel like there's like less of a spirit of that in the media now. Like, I don't know. 30 Rock kind of did shit like that. It did like live episodes and stuff, but what the hell else do we need to talk about? Yeah, so Drew Carey was in the fucking, they were both in the fucking The armed forces. Salute to you, hosts of The Price is Right. Bob Barker and Drew Carey, the modern man. I mean, that's a pretty interesting career for Drew Carey to go from being like a stand-up comedian. He was on the fucking Tonight Show. I think he got called over by Carson. He got the fucking okay and shit. Adam S. Where are you working these days? At a hotel or wage slave? It's good. Having a job I think it's a good thing. I know that sounds insane coming from me, but I saw this TikTok video about Rodney Dangerfield because Rodney Dangerfield really didn't make it until he's back in a warehouse. Fuck. God bless you, Adam S. Are you working with robots or is it other human beings? What kind of I thought warehouses were all like automated and shit now. Bam, better pay. I don't need to wear a tie. Hell yeah. My brother, last I saw, is like building these robots that are like, it's an old school family business. Bam. Nice. That sounds awesome. Did you find that on Craigslist or? That's cool. That's amazing. But yeah, my brother is basically his job, it seems like, is to build the people that are going to replace the things that are going to replace people. You know, it's like he's going in to build these like robots that can move packages, you know, whatever, this way, that way. This is one of the advantages and one of the reasons why they're building a lot of shit in Columbus, Ohio, or in the around Columbus, Ohio, and Central Ohio, is it's flat. You know, like they need these factories to be like flat so the fucking robots and shit can roll. And so they can store shit, you know, and they can optimize their fucking cubic space and shit like that. It's just weird how that is becoming like, that's how our society is being optimized, is like, how can we ship things as fast as fucking possible? You know, if we calculate the order of this and, you know, the machines work this fast, they don't take breaks, they don't even go to the fucking bathroom. What kind of warehouse is it? Is it fun to work in a warehouse? I worked in a warehouse briefly once. My friend's dad bought a bunch of this Chinese furniture. And so he hired us to like load this Chinese furniture like into trucks and shit. This was like in the early 2000s. He'd go to China. He was like one of these businessmen that was like going to China and like making deals in China. China was like the future. There was opportunity in Hong Kong and shit. So he had gone to China and bought all this fucking like furniture or something. And so we were like child labor. No, we were like 19, probably. Pipes, valves, fittings. Now that's a fucking man's job right there. Good for you. Plumbing supplies. That is a fucking blue collar American right there. That's the working class. And you're getting paid better. And you don't need to wear a tie. Hell yeah. That's inspirational. Adam S. Working in the plumbing supply warehouse. Hell yeah. Are you allowed to have YouTube on? The plumbing supply warehouse. I mean, that's good. You got a job. It's supposed to be really hard to find a job now, or impossible, or a bunch of people are getting laid off, right? Didn't fucking a bunch of companies are like firing shitloads of people right now. I'm not upfront on it, just picking orders and shipping them. There you go. Bam. I can wear one earbud. Hell yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was the best part of I worked at Schrader's Garden Center and I had an iPod. and I could like listen to one earbud and receiving orders. All right. Okay. So you're doing like, inventory type shit, or like what do they call that? Not receipts. Billing, something like that. I don't know. Well, that sounds like a fucking good job. Is it physically hard or taxing, or do you work with machines at all? Is there any kind of robots in there, or what are you going to be for Halloween? Do you do Halloween still? Let me get these hats. I found a couple of hats. Bam! Nice. Pretty strong. I found this hat, so I'm going to probably just start to wear this. I'm going to become a fedora guy. Forklift. Nice. The forklift. Hell yeah. Do you operate the forklift? And then I found this hat, which is also a pretty nice hat. This hat's got a poem written inside. Found it at the library. So I don't know if you can see this, but there's a poem in there. Or there was. It's kind of like washed out or something. Fred. I don't know. I can't read that. Hell yeah. Driving the forklift. That's okay. It's good. How hard can it? It's too much regulation, too much fucking red tape. Fuck that. Just get her done. Get her done. Well, that sounds fun. Is it hard to drive a forklift, or it's like different? There's like fucking like sticks. There's like all these different sticks shifts, right? Or yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff. I don't know. My brother's always had those kind of jobs. Like that's good. It's good to make money. It's good to have a schedule. Get out there, being productive. I think that's, it's not a bad idea to just get a job at any point, because it's like, it's almost like working out, where it's like you gotta just sort of, it's just something you do to just like stay active. Maybe it's not the thing you would choose to do, but it's like you're making money, you're out there, you're with people. That can lead to something else. You're saving money. Okay, there you go. I know a pallet jack and a forklift well. Bam, there you go. Okay. Well, there you go. I mean, sure, you're qualified as hell. I had a job interview to work like in a wine warehouse once. And I think they knew probably I wasn't the guy. I mean, I worked at Strader's Garden Center. And I worked with, there was a lesbian couple. Chrissy was the manager. And I forget what her partner's name was, but they both worked there. And then there was another couple, Melody and Ian, and they were really into like fish. And they knew Les Claypool. Somehow they knew Les Claypool like personally. And so whenever Primus or like whatever fucking Les Claypool's Frog Brigade or whatever, I don't really know what his current project is. Is he doing something with Sean Ono Lennon? I'm sure Les Claypool is doing something, freaky Burning Man weirdo shit. So, but they knew Les Claypool like personally. So when Les Claypool would come to town, they'd get like backstage passes and shit. Les is a very friendly guy, I've heard. Yeah, I'm sure he is. I mean, he seems like, just like kind of an enlightened hippie type guy. I don't know. He seems like open and just kind of DTF or party. He's down to party probably. He's on the freak wavelength. I don't know. And so they were very nice. They were super cool, super very nice people. But we all worked at fucking. And then there was this older woman who lived next door. I forget what her name was, but she had like a Hispanic like lover that was like her boyfriend, who's like way younger than her. He was like probably 25, and she was like 65 or something. And they both worked at, or I think they hired me because he went to go work somewhere else. And so we all got paid, I think, $7.50 an hour. And it was just like, it's not like the hardest physical job, but like a lot of it's outdoors, a lot of it's dirty. You're working with soil and like Miracle Grow and shit like that, fertilizer. And so the worst part of my job, and really the reason why I was hired, is like people would come there to order bags of mulch and like topsoil. And so it was my job to load the fucking mulch and topsoil into people's cars. And I'm talking like some people would already order 30 bags of this shit. They got to fucking topsoil their whole fucking shit, or they got to mulch, and so they, it was regularly rich assholes coming and, ordering 10 bags. And like, it rains, the shit gets wet, it's hot. And so it gets stinky and wet, and you're loaded. It's like manure. A lot of it is fertilizer and manure and shit. And so you're loading this like, fucking stinky, wet, and the dirt gets heavier when it gets wet. And so it's like cement or something, bags of cement. So I felt like a man is what I'm saying. I had my Strader's fucking green shirt. I'm listening to fucking Bruce Springsteen. This is why I was so into Bruce Springsteen, because it was just like that music. I mean, I only worked, I think, 20 hours a week. I think I worked 4 days a week. I think I worked 4-hour shifts. I think, or it was either, I don't know if it was 9:30 or 10:30 to like 2:30. Pretty sure it was 9:30. Maybe it was 10:30. I don't remember if it was 4 or 5 hours, but it just felt like hell. It just felt like this is the worst fucking, and you don't even hardly make any fucking money. It's not like I was making $30 an hour to do this shit. It was like, it was minimum wage practically. And when I wasn't loading fucking, bags of hot, stinky mulch into fucking like either rich ladies' SUVs or like landscapers, or nobody tipped. Nobody ever tipped. So you're just doing this for like, people are watching you do it. It's like, this sucks ass. And you're just standing there and like, you're not even going to give me $5 or something. Like, this sucks ass in every way. But that is capitalism, everyone. That is late stage capitalism. The Straders were just like miserable assholes. Everything I heard about them was they were just mean. And like, that's every boss I've ever had. That's why they're the boss, is because they're fucking dickheads. And they talk to you like you're not a human being. You're subhuman trash. So when I wasn't loading them bags and mulch, I had to like water all of the plants in the nursery. I mean, it wasn't a huge, it was behind the Kroger on King Avenue. And it was next to an apartment complex. You couldn't, even though I was working 16, 20 hours a week, it's just like, I think I made $250 every 2 weeks or something. I probably made $500 a month. It's just like, this is not, I can't do anything with this hardly. It's like, I think I bought a Mac Mini, and I bought like my camera. I bought a mini DV camera that cost $600. That's what I did with the money from that job. It wasn't like I couldn't move out of my parents' house or anything like that, which sucks. Like, if you're working, you should be able to fucking afford a place to live. And so every fucking day I'm in the sun, like putting this fucking hose in every single plant, in the whole nursery. Listen to fucking Blonde on Blonde. Back in the days, I had the original iPod. So it was like I had to fucking get a CD and like rip it into my iTunes. Get a physical CD, put it in my fucking CD DVD combo drive in my Mac Mini. Which I edited movies on fucking iMovie. God bless the Mac Mini and GarageBand. We made some gnarly ass fucking GarageBand recordings. But Strader's Garden Center made it all possible. I worked with Miracle-Gro. Apparently this fertilizer gives people like really, I forget what disease, but I always see these commercials about if you're suffering from fucking Alzheimer's or whatever, that Parkinson's, and you work with like fucking Miracle-Gro, you may be entitled to compensation. I wasn't really doing that much with like the Miracle-Gro and shit, but like people, that's what people would come in there to buy. They'd come in to get shit that would kill the weeds, weed killer, whatever the fuck that stuff is. Spray your weeds with, so not only are you not getting paid shit, you have no benefits, but like they might be killing you just for working there. You might get some kind of fatal disease just from working with like these pesticides and shit. So then I worked there for about 6 months. I started like at the beginning of spring. I worked there the whole summer. I did, I lasted there. Okay. I proved my fucking mettle. I proved that I was a blue collar hard ass. But then around Halloween, a lot of people buy decorations there, so you have to like change the fucking like displays and it's like now it's Halloween, so we're selling mums. We're deadheading the mums, and we're going to like more hardy kind of like winter plants, and we're selling all these like pumpkin shit and like fucking Halloween decorations, and so all of that shit's got to come out of the storage. It's all fucking nasty and dusty and shit. And so during Christmas, the job was going to be to like load people's Christmas trees. They like have like a fucking Christmas tree patch, and that was the point where I'm just like, fuck this, I'm done. There's no way I'm like, so now instead of loading people's mulch, I get to load Christmas trees, and it's going to be freezing cold. Like, no, I'm not that much of a man, like I'm man enough to like do this in the summer, but fuck this. This job sucks ass. Like, you're not paying me enough money. Like, I'm out of here. I think I did give him 2 weeks notice. The best part of that job, there was this guy, TJ, who worked with us. He came in 1 day a week on Saturday, and he owned the Dairy Queen. He was like, I think he did. He was the manager. TJ was like, he kind of had a Dane Cook vibe. He was very like 2004. He had kind of an Elliott Smith, like Dane Cook. He was really into like he was into music. He was really into the Pixies. He was super fucking cool guy. Just so fun and like, but like, he was the boss of the Dairy Queen. I know people love hearing about this. People love hearing about my youthful nostalgia. Well, I don't give a fuck. Well, thank you for anybody who's watching. So anyway, TJ was the manager of the Dairy Queen. That's the job I wish I'd gotten. Everybody, that was like a cake job. Like you're eating ice cream all day. You're like within the confines of like the safe Dairy Queen. I worked at goddamn Strader's. It was a nightmare. I was on my own in that place. And so the best case scenario at Strader's, they'd either like sometimes like once every couple months, they'd send me to like one of the other stores or something to pick something up. So I'd drive my 1980 Pontiac Phoenix to like, one of the other fucking stores. And so I'd like for a few hours at work, I could like be in my car and like just chill, take my time. And then the other good thing that happened was TJ, because he worked at Dairy Queen, he would get us free shit from Dairy Queen. So like on the Saturdays when he was there, I could get like a Reese's fucking peanut butter cup blizzard and like a fucking, whatever, hot dog or whatever, coney dog for free. Which, was small compensation for the nightmare hell that they put us through. That was really the first job I ever had, basically. I worked at a yoga studio for a couple months before that, but like, I didn't really know what to expect. I don't know if it's still that way where just like people get like ridiculously exploited and have to work like, it seems like the worse your job is, the less you get paid in this world, which is completely ass backwards. Like I should have gotten paid $40 an hour to do that rather than $7.50. The only job I ever had where I made less than that was Jenny's Ice Cream. Surprise, surprise. And I don't know. They were both pretty shitty. They were both like equally shitty. I mean, like I don't know if rich people have to go through this. Like all these trust fund kids in New York, like, did they work at fucking Schrader's Garden Center for a fucking summer? Listen to the fucking river. I do want to talk about Bruce Springsteen, okay? I don't know if this is a recurring thing, but like I started to watch the Deliver Me From Nowhere movie, and it's already very biopic. The biopic is biopicking. It's extremely biopic. So I don't know. I think Bruce lost his mind a little bit after the Magic was a pretty good album. Everything after that, I can't really say. I think he lost it. I don't know. I think he's too popular in a way. Like, but I started to watch his Broadway show, Springsteen on Broadway, because fucking TikTok is just feeding me all these goddamn Springsteen videos for some reason. There's certain things that like the internet, like, or the algorithm just like loves, like the Beatles. This is something I've been thinking about recently too. Is like the algorithm and like the internet, it just loves the fucking Beatles. Like Google like loves the Beatles. Google like uses the Beatles as like a model for like what they fucking do. And it's like, it's just weird. I get it because the Beatles are super like lovable, but like it's also not necessarily my, it's something I was obsessed with when I was younger. And like, don't get me wrong, like the Beatles are perennially kind of inspiring and like, some of the great art of all time. Absolutely. That's one of the shocking things about the Beatles is just like how they became way more awesome than anybody even thought they could be. And I was watching this clip from fucking Shindig popped up on my TikTok from 1964. It's around the time of Beatles for Sale. They're doing all the Beatles for Sale songs, which is my favorite Beatles album because I have to be different. And the guy the host of Shindig is like the coolest guy ever. I don't know who that guy is, but he's so cool. It's insane. He's very 60s and like, he looks like Secret Agent Man or something. And he calls the Beatles the entertainment phenomenon of the century. That was when Beatles for Sale came out. They hadn't even made, fucking Revolver or any of that shit yet. The entertainment phenomenon of the century. This was like, after they came out with I Want to Hold Your Hand and shit. And so it's kind of insane that they were able to deliver on that promise, like in tenfold. And so there's something about the Beatles that like they were keyed into some kind of magic in some kind of wavelength that like it's worth, like I said, they're one of those things that just like you can kind of study at all times, and it's kind of like it's giving, even though they can be kind of annoying. I don't know. There was a long period of my life where I was like sort of too cool, and yeah, I don't know. It's just like as an influence, it's almost too much. Like Ashley loves this band, the fucking Sharp Pins, and that guy in that band is singing in a fucking Liverpool accent. It's like, dude, it's 2025. He's imitating Robert Pollard from Guided by Voices, who's imitating Paul McCartney. And there's so many American bands that like sing in like a Liverpool accent. And it's like, I just kind of wanted to get away from that. Because it's just like, it's so, I don't know. Why is it so, persuasive? How is Ashley? Ashley is good. She has a job with the New York Public Library. She is at the job right now, tutoring or something. I don't know. Apparently, she just goes there and reads coloring books all day. She's paid to be like a tutor, but it's like if kids come in and they want help, she'll help them. But like, if not, she just gets to fucking hang out. Yeah, Greta Van Fleet is one of those bands that just like totally rips their fucking sound from like Led Zeppelin and shit. And like, I mean, we might be living in the wake of like, like those bands from the 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever. Like, we might not just, we might, that may have been like a unique wave in history. And like, yeah, music sucks compared to that. Or like, there's very few bands that compare to that in a way now, it feels like. And so I don't know, we've been living in like the wake of that. Like, how could you possibly be better than the Beatles? They invented a lot of these fucking recording processes and shit. Not that there isn't, genius stuff happening now or people doing innovative stuff, but I don't know. The center of the culture has kind of shifted to something else. Yeah. And the algorithm loves this shit, and it works for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's something that I like secretly love, but like don't want to admit to myself. So it's like I'm seeing all these and there's a lot of fucking Springsteen fucking bootleg type shit. There's a lot of fandom. People become obsessed with Springsteen, and there's a lot of like rarities and B-sides and outtakes, and yeah. I mean, people are doing cocaine now. That was something somebody told me the other day. They were telling me, well, I shouldn't name names, but people in New York love their cocaine. Let's just say that. Not me. I have no interest whatsoever. I'm not interested even a little bit. The Beatles were all on amphetamines. I was listening to, I saw some fucking TikTok video about during when they were recording Getting Better, John Lennon accidentally took acid. And he sort of started freaking out. And he's like, I thought it was an amphetamine. Like, oh, it's perfectly fine to take an amphetamine. But Jesus Christ, he accidentally took this acid. Fuck, I thought it was speed. The 60s, man, those crazy 60s. It's been like an annoying thing, I think, to a lot of people their whole lives to live like in the shadow of like hippie lore and like glorification of the 60s. And a lot of like Gen X culture, I feel like, is kind of like making fun of a lot of that shit. But like, one of the reasons why the Beatles were able to do what they did is because they were all on fucking speed. Like, they were on speed. Like, all of their early music, they're on goddamn speed. You can tell they're on speed. It sounds like they're on fucking, like Elvis was on speed. Like, everybody did, it was like, that's just what they did. It was like energy to them. They were 20 years old, like they could get away with it. I mean, it's not necessarily the reason why they were fucking, oh yeah, of course, George Martin. Well, that's the other thing I want to say about the Beatles is like, it's not like the Beach Boys where like literally Brian Wilson is writing the fucking songs and the arrangements and he's producing the record and telling everybody what their parts are and he's writing the fucking harmonies. Like the Beatles, George Martin did a lot of that shit. And like, to be honest, a lot of it just does feel like kind of stock or something. Like, oh, we need a piano solo for this. So George Martin is just going to like, or, he's going to write a bunch of crazy sounding string arrangements for like benefit of Mr. Kite that like are going to make it sound, it's not like fucking Paul McCartney was doing all of that shit himself. Like George Martin was this kind of, he'd been in World War II, like he had been in the fucking Navy or some shit. And so he knew, he knew how to run an operation, how to organize things, how to be honest about what was working. I think more than anything, the Beatles had like a line of like approval. Like everything had to pass all of their approval. Like if didn't work, somebody would say that doesn't work. They had to come up with ideas that were like hooks for everything. The bass line is a fucking hook. George Harrison is playing a fucking hook. The harmonies are like a fucking hook. Like the drums are a fucking hook. Like everything is a fucking hook. And anything less than that, they just like wouldn't accept. They wouldn't accept songs that were less than hits almost. It's like every fucking song they wrote is like unique, is like a different type of song almost. And they all work because George Martin and everybody else is going, not so sure about that. Let's not do that. So they had a lot of quality control, let's say. But at the same time, they were also extremely gifted in each of their respective departments. And they also just like, they had a sense for like what worked and their decision making too. They were able to like, one of the weird things about the Beatles is like they almost started in 1960 and ended in 1970. There's so much about the Beatles that's just like kind of like this mystical, like they just were in the right place at the right time. They chose the right thing. They said the right thing. They went, it's like they were just tapped in. I don't know. And we're also like sort of emerging from that moment where it's like now it's almost in retrospect. Now it's like people are recognizing like how special that was. I think things like seeing McCartney live or seeing like Bob Dylan live, like now people have an appreciation for like, whoa, these people were like, how did they do that? Because no one is doing it now. There isn't a cultural equivalent of that stuff. I wouldn't say. Maybe the last thing was like these TV shows. I would say, were maybe the last cultural thing that were like giant cultural phenomena. But even that, I mean, like I was reading this thing about the Beatles yesterday in the library. This book, John and Paul, love story or something. And it was talking about how this guy said the summer of 1967, when Sergeant Pepper came out, he drove across the country, and he said literally everywhere he went, you heard the sound of that album. Everywhere he went, it was on the fucking radio. It was coming out of people's apartments. That movie Shampoo, I don't know if you've seen Shampoo, but there's a party scene in that movie, and it takes place, I think, in 1967, and they score it to Sergeant Pepper's, and it's so perfect. And it's like, I just don't know that there's a cultural equivalent of that. Like, I just don't think there is. It's sort of unimaginable. I don't know. I mean, there's music like that like you do hear all over the place, but like, it's not like it's the only fucking thing you hear everywhere. And but at the same time, it was a project of like the monoculture, and there was a cultural focus on things. And, it wasn't like now where the internet, you just slowly drip out whatever the fuck your ideas are in sort of these just like self-produced, doing the best you can posts. Now everybody's like a fucking bedroom producer. It's like you don't have, the Beatles were like, they'd grown up together. And so there was this quote in the book about how John Lennon said they felt each other. Like Mick Jagger said something about how they were one thing. Like, I really do think they just, they had their own language. They had their own, almost like telepathic or intuitive sense of each other's feelings and reactions. And they were entrained with each other. They lived together. They toured together. They, the Hamburg shit. They, done all kind of crazy shit together. And they sing harmonies together. They're so fucking locked in. It's just like they're a self-contained unit. These three guys plus a percussionist, and a producer. Now it's like everybody just makes shit by themselves in their bedroom, like using a bunch of digital fucking preamps or whatever the hell it is, loops or a drum pad. It's a sampler. It's not human beings playing fucking instruments. It's one guy with a fucking loop station pedal, basically. Everybody's like a loop artist now, which like, this is something I bitched about before, is just how everything sounds so canned and like digital and like loopy and kind of everything sounds like Fruity Loops. It's just all this like bam, 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 and it's like, I like the sound of bands, but it does feel like it's kind of yesterday's news. Everybody's about this band Geese. Have you listened to Geese? They're okay. People are trying to say like this guy's the next David Berman or something. This song, All Pays Do Cocaine. He's from Park Slope. I wonder if you ever came to any sludge parties. They're okay. It didn't blow me away or anything, but I really wanted to like it. It sounded like Radiohead if Bill Callahan was Radiohead. Which is not a bad thing to sound like, but it was way simpler than Radiohead. Like Radiohead is they're another one of these bands. It's just like, it's kind of insane what they're able to do. But with Radiohead, I don't know. You get the impression that they're actually playing a lot of it as a band. It's not just like a bunch of studio tricks. Like the Beatles invented that shit, basically. And so, but it's just like they're so fucking famous, and it's just, it's too powerful of an influence. Plus, they're British. So a lot of what the Beatles can do, like the way that they sing, there's just something about the British. There's a reason why so many of those rock stars were British. It's like British people, their voices are higher, their language is like more musical or something. I don't know. They're a more like pub singing ass soccer hooligan chanting like fucking culture. There's like choirs in school and shit. They probably study that shit. How did the Beatles learn the harmonies? That's what I want to know. How the fuck did they learn their music theory? Like, that's what I want to know. Like, is Radiohead prog? I mean, I think prog as a fucking distinction is almost like unnecessary. Like the thing about prog is it or metal. I guess I'm kind of conflating the two, but like prog is almost more like classical. The music before rock and roll pop music, like rock and roll is actually a very primitive form compared to like metal, which metal is really just classical music in a lot of ways. You're more likely to hear prog type shit in like Bach, I would say, than like there you go. The British has something to prove after their empire was publicly dissolved. They took over a second time through culture. Yeah, I would agree. I think the Beatles were like a little navy. They have Liverpool is a port city like New Orleans, and it was a huge port on the slave trading route. A lot of the ships that went to Africa would leave from Liverpool. And so there were these lines that were traced along the trade winds. And so, Liverpool they got records that nobody else got. The reason why the Beatles had the variety in their repertoire was because Brian Epstein owned a fucking record store, and they got records that nobody else got. They got records from the United States, obscure R&B records, shit like Soldier of Love or I Got My Mind Set on You, or look at all of the cover songs the Beatles did, all of the Gene Vincent stuff, all of the fucking the Coasters and shit, Besame Mucho. Like, they learned all this shit. I think Britain was lucky. I mean, I read there was this thing Ian Savonia said about the rock stars really couldn't be from America because of the racial aspect. Whereas, like, these British rock stars were maybe not quite as the Beatles were ripping off different stuff, but like they were all ripping off American black artists, basically. The Rolling Stones, Clapton, all of the British blues shit, Led Zeppelin. The Beatles were ripping off Motown, the girl groups, Brill Building, Everly Brothers. The Beatles synthesized all of these fucking influences, from the 50s. You can hear it in the BBC album, the Live at the BBC. There you go. The singing is in their blood because it was a sailing culture and sailors lived to harmonize. 100%. Absolutely. Like, that's what they fucking do. That's what they do for fun. That's how they keep warm. The Beatles, I heard this was pretty interesting, is like they're actually all Irish. They're all culturally Irish. Lennon, McCartney, Harrison, their ancestors are actually all from Ireland. They came over to Liverpool probably, whatever, in the potato famine or whatever. But they're actually Irish, which I think makes a lot of sense. Ireland is more of like a kind of a lyrical poetry culture, or there's more of like a singing. It's closer to like ballads and I don't know, pub fucking camaraderie type shit. And there's a magic there, I think. They're like these leprechauns almost. And they were also assimilating, the change. They were able to assimilate the technological changes and make decisions like that were very intuitive. Like Paul McCartney's going to play the bass. Oh, he's got this fucking Hofner bass, which just like allows him to play in this other way. It's like, little things like that, letting go of Pete Best, letting go of Stuart Sutcliffe, consolidating the lineup. There was an intuitive decision-making process that just like they kind of did everything right. They chose wisely. Or at least that's how it appears now. I don't know. And they're almost more like a conceptual art project as much as they are a band. Like, it's just, you could talk about it endlessly. That's what's crazy about it, is like literally you could talk about the fucking Beatles. There are fucking podcasts and shit. Like, doesn't Will, what's that guy from UCB? Will something. They have a podcast where like literally that's all they talk about. It's like the fucking Beatles. Like, it's such a pervasive influence. And to be honest, like as a baritone and as like an American, it's easier for me to imitate. Like, I remember when I discovered like Merle Haggard and shit like that, country music, like that sits more comfortably within my like register. I can sing like country music and it sounds way better than like when I try to imitate, Paul McCartney, like singing like a fucking falsetto or whatever, Penny Lane or whatever. It's like, I just don't really have the equipment to do that. British people, another mystical thing about the Beatles is like both Paul McCartney and John Lennon's moms died. Both of their mothers were dead, like when they were teenagers. And I think that has a lot to do with it. Like the way that they sang, there's a mournful quality to a lot of the early Beatles stuff. They knew a lot of people that died. Stuart Sutcliffe fucking died. Brian Epstein fucking died. I was reading this thing. They recorded I Am the Walrus literally right after Brian Epstein died. That was the first song they fucking recorded. And so you can look at I Am the Walrus as sort of like some kind of like funeral. I'm crying, it's like there's something about it that's the magic of the Beatles, is they were able to take this energy, this weirdness, this sort of funk that they were in, and translate it into this kind of electrifying. To me, I Am the Walrus is like maybe the Beatles' best song artistically, in a way. I don't know. Hey Jude, I Am the Walrus. But yeah, I think that's another thing, is a lot of the other history gets lost to time. And so the Beatles get credit for everything. And it's like they were imitating Zappa. Fucking Sgt. Pepper's was an imitation of whatever, Safe as Milk, or there was some Zappa album that's sort of like a concept album where it's like a fictional band or there's like radio advertisements and shit. The Beatles were not only were they like pop confectioners and artists, fine artists, they fucking John Lennon went to art school. I think that doesn't really get, he said with I Am the Walrus, he wanted to write a song that was like a siren That was like his conceptual, art project that he was trying to do. I think that's why the Beatles songs all have this kind of like unique kind of, they all feel like, okay, this is what this is. This is Rain. But this is Paperback Writer. They're similar, but it's not like they're just writing one long poem that's all the same fucking thing. Everything is so kind of defined and but I think they were also sort of working within commercial confines, and other than like maybe Revolution number 9, like, which I think almost everybody hates, like there's not, to me, the White Album, a lot of people talk shit about the White Album, including George Martin. George Martin says they should have made one album. There's a lot of stuff they could have taken off. And that's kind of a lot of people's idea about it, is like, there's things on it that they could have edited out and made a stronger. But it's like, to me, that is part of the point of the White Album, is the scope of it, embracing different, aesthetics, different sizes. Some of them are like little notebook pieces. Some of them are little sketches. There's little songs that are within the songs. There's that little thing that, ta-da-da, can you take me that bit? Whatever the fuck that part is. There's weird little moments in the White Album. Like, it covers a lot of terrain. It's like, you can tell they went to India. It has this kind of like mountainous kind of like journey. I think that's all important. That's all in the cover, is like, probably you could put that in a fucking art gallery or something. Like the White Album is like an art gallery. It's like, it has that kind of like aesthetic high-mindedness. It's got great songs, it's got great sounds. It's another example of them kind of embracing what was happening organically. Brian Epstein had died. They were sort of making all these little solo projects in a way. They had too many songs they didn't know what to do with. They had Piggies. They had, I love Don't Pass Me By. For my money, Don't Pass Me By is probably the best Ringo song. I mean, I love Octopus's Garden. I loved it as a kid. It's no surprise to me that now Octopus's Garden has taken on this sort of like favorite. People love Octopus's Garden. It probably has more Spotify listens than a lot of Lennon McCartney songs. But Don't Pass Me By. You were in a car crash and you lost your hair is one of the most amazing lyrics on a Beatles album. There's very few things that are that real in like the Lennon McCartney lyrics, and specific and weird. Like, that's where I would say the limitation of the Beatles is, in a certain ways. Like, a lot of the lyrics could be, at least like on the earlier stuff, they could be a little more, I don't know. It's all, but I also think that's what's part of what's amazing and miraculous and blah, blah, blah about the Beatles, is like, their message is so obvious, and it's so infectious, and it's so simple, and it's perfect, and it's love. You know what I mean? As naive as that is, or what, it's like, that's what those songs are about, and even though the lyrics are kind of like maybe not all that they could be per se, maybe they're perfect for what they are. I don't know. Bruce Halliday in the house. What's up, my man? How are you? Have you seen Deliver Me From Nowhere yet? Nice to see you. I opened the chat. The chat is reopened. You could. Well, I think, the other thing about the Beatles is I feel like everybody kind of knows about it. It's like you feel like you've just heard every fucking story in a way, but you there's certain things like I really do want to meet Paul McCartney. It is one of my life goals. I know that sounds crazy, but like I would love to jam with Paul McCartney because there's certain things that I think as comprehensive as he is about like stewarding the catalog and his career and the Beatles songs, it's like he doesn't revisit the early stuff. He should do those early songs. Like I want to know about not a Springsteen fan. Okay. I thought you were. I thought we talked about that before. I guess I was wrong. Um like the Hamburg period is probably the most fascinating Beatles period to me. Like to me, you got to listen to the Star Club album. Like the Beatles Star Club album is just unbelievable. That's why, like, I don't know, you kind of got to give it to those guys. Like they were like, I don't know if I'd say, I guess they were geniuses. They were tapped in. And like, even that Hamburg album is like insane. Like that's before they recorded anything hardly. And they're just tearing it up. It's still just massively affecting. It's romantic. To me, I don't know. It's like that's the best music. I don't know if anybody's ever made better, certainly not better rock and roll music than that. They just were able to do everything. McCartney's bass playing is just like no one has ever been able to get that sound. Like ever. Like his early bass playing is just it's so rubbery. And it's just so busy. But in a way that like totally works. Because the dude is just like full of melody. Like Paul McCartney, everything the guy does is like melodic. He looks melodic. His body is like his face. It's just like it's just all melodic. I don't know. It's crazy that he's out there right now. McCartney's out there right now, fucking on the road. He played Help, I guess, for the first time live in like 60 years. Which is kind of insane. But I think it is like the Beatles song for this moment in a weird way. That song Help is just like just hits so hard. Once again, it's just the Lennon stuff is like so simple and it just help. It's like conceptual. I don't know. I do think his poetry doesn't get enough credit. Like I'm reading this Beatles book yesterday and the guy goes out of his way to say something about how John Lennon he tried to do all this other stuff like make movies and he was afraid to leave the Beatles because he didn't think he could make anything work without Paul McCartney, basically. And the guy goes out of his way to say, John Lennon's poetry and drawing books were like not as, like successful as his music was, basically. And like, yeah, okay, I guess, but he's in the fucking Beatles for Christ's sake. It's like, surprise, surprise, his fucking poetry book is not as successful as, the fucking Beatles album. Like very few things ever have been. But like, to me, it's kind of a miracle that like the dude was able to get a fucking poetry book published. Like he's on the fucking Ed Sullivan show and they're talking about in his own right or whatever. It's like that's kind of nuts. Like I wouldn't say he was unsuccessful. And I would say that like there's something about his writing style that's kind of rooted in that stuff. Like John Lennon's lyrics and just like his creative way of seeing things. I think you see it in his poetry. It's almost like language poetry. A lot of it is like these kind of confusions of language, skywriting by word of mouth. That could be fucking Clark Coolidge or something. He attributes it right to like Lewis Carroll and sort of like maybe probably Burroughs or something. I think he was probably influenced by that, Naked Lunch or whatever. But, the fact that he was able to get any of that across in like these tremendously fucking selling popular songs is like kind of insane. And it's there. You can see it. You can see it in something like In My Life. There are places I remember all my life, though some have changed. It's like the grammar of that song is very interesting. It's not, like totally normal. Or even like, the song All You Need Is Love. The syntax and stuff in that is super weird. It's like there's nothing you can do that can't be done. Nothing you can sing that can't be sung. Nothing you can play that isn't how there is to play. It's like it's just these weird kind of sentences chasing themselves. That's an interesting, approach to put into fucking, something that everybody on goddamn planet Earth sings along to. Like that kind of stuff weirdly works better in song lyrics. Like I think that's one reason why, like, with poetry, that's why I started to chase that stuff more because, like, I don't know. I guess it's the music that holds it together, but a lot of times if you say something incorrectly in a song, it like sounds better. Something like Hard Day's Night or 8 Days a Week or, you know, um, I am he as you are me, and we are all together. It's like that's not necessarily you're not going to see that sentence in like a textbook, or something. It's not going to be like something that's accepted in like a normal fucking discourse, but like that's what makes it this sort of like incantatory, mystical, like dream. Fuck. Thing that's memorable because it's like that's what's poetic about it. It rhymes. I am he as you are me as you are we. It makes sense. That's like that to me is like as deep and as clear a fucking thing probably on as there is on a fucking Beatles album. It kind of says it all. And it's this circular, it's gooning, to use everybody's favorite word now. Did you guys read the gooning article? Did you hear about this? Apparently there are guys out there who just like jack off all day or something. That's news. That's got a huge write-up in Harper's. All the Twitter is talking about it. The discourse. I don't know. Okay. Well, it's been 2 hours. I guess I'll keep going. I've got 3 people watching. The other thing is like living up here, being in Central Park, seeing the Dakota, the fucking Ed Sullivan Theater. It's like, it's just weird how the Beatles tracks No Fap. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, they didn't present the No Fap point of view, really. It was all about fap, fap, fap. It's all about fap culture. Let's just pretend this doesn't exist. There's a million more interesting things to write about. Write about something productive and creative. We don't need to give these people like attention and well, I went to that John Lennon Imagine Strawberry Fields thing on October 9th, and there was like that John Lennon sing along thing. So the Beatles are just kind of in the air, I guess. Anywhere, it's weird how big of an imprint they left in New York. It's just like you feel the Beatles, like the tracks that they left here, like big fucking dinosaur footprints or something, like the Ed Sullivan fucking theater in the fucking Dakota. And they built this goddamn thing in Central Park. This guy was so fucking like, and as an entertainer, or as an artist, or as in show business, you're just like, how did they do that? How were they so fucking powerful that just like people have this like reverence? Even today, it's like, oh my God, the fucking Beatles. You still listen to those records, and it's like they're still the best. And at the same time, John Lennon was like this ornery, like avant-garde, kind of rebellious kind of asshole. It's like he hung out with all these dirty fucking like hippie David Peel and the fucking Plastic Elephant Memory Band or whatever the shit. Like a lot of the music he made in the 70s was like pretty fucking raw and kind of shitty, to be honest. Like, to be honest, that rock and roll album, the Phil Spector album, like, doesn't sound that great. It's not really how they should have done that. And, a lot of John Lennon's solo stuff probably could have sounded better, to be honest. A lot of it's pretty raw. But I think the guy wanted to do other stuff. He wanted to do it his way. And wow, really? Saw Harrison in Philly, Bangladesh concert. So that was in the fucking 70s. That's insane. How was that? I mean, that's the other thing about the Beatles that I think is sort of a misconception or a missed narrative, is like the idea that George is the quiet one, or like he was sort of somehow, I mean, and I get that, like, of course, he didn't get as many songs on the records and shit like that, but like his guitar playing, it's unbelievable, first of all, that a guy that age could do all that stuff. If you listen to what he plays on the fucking that BBC album and shit that he's playing on those first records, it's like, how the fuck did he was like 20 years old? It's like, how the fuck did this guy learn all this stuff? Like, his playing is so fluid. His tone is amazing. Like, and it's always of a hook. It's always 73 older than dirt. And he's always singing harmony. He's always making the most out of his place. Him and McCartney are always there to support, to jump in. McCartney can't help himself. They're all almost playing lead all the time, to be honest. Like, they're all singing all the fucking time, backing parts, harmony parts. Paul McCartney's playing like almost like a fucking lead bass a lot of the time. And George Harrison is playing like, that stuff is as important to the song as anything. And the fact that he was able to do it with such elegance. It's amazing how little credit he even got in the band. You know, they talk about how they'll replace him with Eric Clapton and shit. Like, oh, we'll just get rid of George and get Eric Clapton. It's like Eric Clapton could not do what George Harrison does. I'm sorry. It's just like he can play a bunch of pentatonic bullshit. That's not what George Harrison does. George Harrison has all these other modalities. Fucking Dwayne Eddy. You know, I think Dwayne Eddy was a huge influence on George Harrison. But that's almost like hidden in the sound. Buddy Holly shit. You know, it's not like the Beatles sound like Dwayne Eddy, but there's certain things in the songs. He's playing this big fucking like Bigsby fucking Gretsch guitar, like country gentleman. It's like that's some fucking rockabilly ass shit right there. Carl Perkins, obviously. He was able to produce those solos from those records like note for note. This was way before the fucking tablature and fucking guitar internet sites and shit. You know, they probably didn't even have fucking fake books. It's like, how the fuck did he learn Carl Perkins licks off of a fucking record? I have no idea. Or even like that lead stuff he plays, Until There Was You. If you listen, like they're doing a version of, I forget the singer, it's some woman singer. She does sort of like a bossa nova. McCartney said he didn't know what the Music Man was. He'd never heard of it or seen it or anything. He had heard Till There Was You on some record. I forget the woman's names. I don't know if it was Sophie Tucker or I forget who it was, but he had heard it on her record. And so the Beatles version is really a cover of that cover. And there's some like flamenco style lead guitar stuff on it, but it's not exactly what George Harrison played. And what George Harrison played was better. You know, that's the unbelievable thing about the Beatles too, is like usually their cover songs are better than the originals. They're able to take a fucking pop song, a hit song, and somehow they're able to make it better. Like they did that with a lot of fucking songs. And the lead shit on Till There Was You is like how it's so fucking elegant and like precise. It's like, how did a fucking 20-year-old do this? I would say, okay, if I had to name like a weak point, the thing that I think probably is the least interesting stuff is like the rock and roll covers that the Beatles did like on their records. Like, I think it was important that they did them, but they don't sound as good as the live versions. Their version of like rock and roll music or Roll Over Beethoven or, you know, the Matchbox or Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby or Bad Boy or, you know, that stuff is, it's like, it's good that they did it, but like it benefited from the lo-fi live quality, I think. Like the live at the BBC version is the best versions of that stuff. Like the stuff on the record, it's good that they paid tribute to their influences or stuff like I'm Down or She's a Woman. You know, the songs that they wrote that are like the early rock and roll songs are probably the least interesting songs the Beatles did. They had a lot more interesting cover song, like Mr. Moonlight. That's an example of a cover song that they did that I think, okay, this is interesting. There's obviously great covers that are on their records too, like Baby It's You. What else? Taste of Honey, I think, is pretty interesting. Twist and Shout, obviously, is a great cover, you know. But like, you know, when they play Chuck Berry songs, it's good that they did it, but it's not really, they have a lot more tools in their fucking arsenal than that. There's no harmonies on those songs. They're just two guitars kind of blasting out rhythm stuff. The original records are more subtle. You know, the Chuck Berry records are actually pretty subtle. The piano is really interesting. The rhythm is more, it's more kind of jazz, rhythm, and blues influenced. It's not just like this fucking backbeat over everything. Like Chuck Berry records are more like shuffles and shit like that. It's not just a fucking snare drum cracking every fucking other beat or whatever. I mean, the Clash, yeah. I think it's amazing to me people don't talk about the Clash more anymore. I think the Clash is one of those bands that, like, it's not like they're forgotten, but like, if they have, London Calling is like a perfect fucking album. It's one of the greatest albums ever made. And they have, 40 or 50 songs that are like super fucking memorable. And they're that was back when music fucking meant something. Heard they were terrible live. The live stuff that I've heard from the Clash, they play everything super fast, and it's very like, compared to the records, it's like kind of stripped down. And so it's like, I don't know. With a lot of those bands, I think you just kind of have to embrace that part of it. Is like, it's just, I don't know, the adrenaline or something. Their records, they really do have like a lot of cool sounds. I don't know if they're using pedals and shit, but they get a lot of cool guitar sounds. I mean, London Calling has tons of influences on it. And for a punk band, their musical chops to me are more comparable to the Beatles than other punk bands or like the Rolling Stones or something. Like the Clash have chord progressions, they have harmonies, they have background parts, they sing like in a higher register. Their lyrics are super fucking poetic. I do think that like the Clash's lyrics are like as good as it gets, really. Like, I don't know who's writing that shit, Joe Strummer, but like the Clash's lyrics are as good as probably any lyrics any band has ever written. Oh my god! I mean, that song about Montgomery Clift, I've been listening to that a lot recently. Just like, what an interesting thing to write a song about. They love movies. I think that kind of translates. Maybe they were like, you know, writing their songs like that's something I love about the Clash. Yeah, it's like the way they take stuff, like they're doing lines from Taxi Driver or whatever in I love, what is that album? The one with Car Jamming and Know Your Rights. To me, that's like the New York Clash album. Allen Ginsberg's on it. It sounds like hip hop. It sounds like yeah. It sounds like the street. It sounds like combat rock. Yeah, there you go. Combat rock. That's probably my favorite Clash album. That's like my personal favorite. Because it's almost like a poetry album. There's a lot of spoken stuff to just like beats. There's a lot of like fucking heavy ass beats. Driving down the street with some big ass system. And Sandinista, I haven't really, like, Sandinista's like 3 albums or something. I haven't totally, and I'm not necessarily like a encyclopedic Clash fan. Like, I don't really know the different albums and per se give them enough rope or uh but you can't ignore that band. Ghetto Defendant. Yeah, Ghetto Defendant's the one about Rimbaud. Ghetto Defendant. Throw pieces of coin. The best part about the Clash is they all sound like they're retarded. I'm sorry, I don't mean to put it in a fucked up way, but that's like the best part. Is that sing, Michael, sing. It's like, what the fuck are they saying? We don't know. I mean, Rudy can't fail. I mean, come on. Cream magazine. I was reading this thing about the Village Voice, this book about the Village Voice, and they were talking about how the Village Voice was like the first place where there was like serious rock criticism, and then Cream magazine started. It's like Cream magazine was the first publication that was like serious rock journalism. Wow. He got in your face, some hardcore punk guy. Why? Because you don't like Fugazi? I mean, the Clash, I think it's not, not that it's a bad thing to be a punk band, but like their music is not really punk rock music. It's complicated music. There's chord structures. There's a lot of, thought that goes into their sound, I think. I think I think Joe Strummer was somebody that loved records. He loved rock and roll, and that comes across in how they did stuff. I mean, but at the same time, like they definitely were punk. Like they happened at that time. They played with the Sex Pistols. They emerged from that kind of and their political, their style, their sense of style, and their political emphasis. Even though I don't know the exact story, but apparently Joe Strummer was like the son of diplomats or something. He was like sort of a private school. I don't really know the story with Joe Strummer totally, but I can see how some punk asshole would be an asshole about that because yeah, definitely. Absolutely. They had straight up, White Riot, shit like that. But, something like White Man and Hammersmith Palais or whatever, like that song is midnight. It's very melodic. They have ska influences. That was all part of that stew that was happening at that time. The Specials, Elvis Costello, they all kind of have similar. Richard Hell. You didn't want to fight a guy with a mohawk. These punk people are like kind of the biggest assholes of them all. Because they're the most judgmental and they're the most like holier than thou. And they're the ones that like draw the hard lines about like, like Ian MacKaye and like straight edge and shit like that. It's like if you take punk that fucking seriously, I don't know. It becomes like too prescribed. It's like, oh, you have to have a mohawk and you have to like these bands. And that idea of punk is so dead to me. I remember when I was in high school, my brother was like, he dyed his hair green and he took that shit really seriously. He was like, he culturally identified more as like a punk than I did, I would say. And there was some sense that like there was this war being fought between like mall punk, pop punk, Blink 182, these awful MTV TRL bands that were like trying to appropriate this thing that was like incredibly, important and pure, and like that was the point of punk. It's like it's got this like morality that like, maybe part of that comes from the Bay Area or like DC. These bands come from DC or, the New York punk feels less political. The Ramones or Richard Hell, Television, they don't really, or Patti Smith even, they don't really feel like political, like, Dead Kennedys or you know, Fugazi or Black Flag, maybe even, or the Clash, right? Um, and so it all kind of gets lumped together. But to be honest, it's all just rock and roll music. Punk is just sort of a rebranding of. It's crazy to me that the Beatles were on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1964, and the Sex Pistols came out in 1976. There were 12 years between the beginning of the Beatles, basically as a worldwide whatever, to the Sex Pistols. Like, that is absolutely nuts to me. Because, like, what has happened in the last 12 years in music that's comparable to that? Like, AI shit? You saw Iggy Pop, huh? Holy shit. Dude, I was watching this Iggy Pop concert the other day. It was insane. Iggy Pop, Ramones, Dictators, and Stranglers. Wow. What year was that? Like, probably late 70s, early 80s? Better live than on the album. I did not hear about the beta. Okay. I definitely heard about the beta band through High Fidelity, but what year was that? Was that in the 90s, or was that in Seattle, or? Yeah, I mean, the Clash, I think, is one of those bands that's like, it's like Television or something. It's like, yeah, they're a punk band, but also there's something else too. They're sort of, punk sort of belies the musicianship, you know, and to some degree, I think the signifier punk is like not really accurate. Like, I saw somebody say Iggy Pop invented punk rock. He's the godfather of punk. And like, there's an argument to be made for that. You could say the Stooges are the first punk rock band, but like, then you listen to the Sonics or even the Beatles. The early Beatles stuff is very fast. It's 3 chords. It's just these kind of ripping rhythm guitar fucking screaming songs. There was always kind of an energy. That's what rock and roll fucking is. It is this kind of like spazzy teenage amateur angsty fucking rebellious music. Punk was just sort of like a boomer rebranding of shit that had already been happening. Velvet Underground, right? Joan Jett, David Johansen, and Joe Perry Project. Wow. Well, Asbury Park, I think, is one of the great places for fucking rock and roll. Like, it's near New York, and it's like, it's on the map. A lot of bands probably roll through there. Even now, it feels like they get good shows at like Stone Pony, and this fucking video popped up in my TikTok. It's Steve Van Zant's birthday party. Bruce joined him on stage. Surprise, surprise. Bruce came out and did 10th Avenue Freeze Out and I Don't Want to Go Home at the Stone Pony. Like, you could have been there, probably. I don't know. How do you get a ticket to Steve Van Zant's birthday party? Shift starts at 3. All right, have a good Halloween, Adam S. Thank you for watching and commenting. Adding a lot to the discussion. This is our round table on I mean, we're still talking about these bands. Notice what we're not, we're not talking about Geese. We're not talking about King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. We're not talking about Harry Styles or even Taylor, everybody. We're talking about a bunch of white guys from the 70s and 60s and Joe Perry Project. That was probably fucking lit as hell. I like Aerosmith, man. I hate to say it, but This girl I saw for a little while, her mom gave her Steven Tyler's autobiography, Does the Noise in My Head Bother You? And she gave it to me. And so, yeah, 21 Pilots. They're from Columbus. They're probably the biggest band to ever come out of Columbus, Ohio. 21 Pilots. And they're sort of, I think they're a little younger than me. I don't remember hearing anything about the 21 Pilots ever when I was growing up in Columbus. And Ashley loves them. Ashley loves fucking 21 Pilots. You know, to fucking Gen Z, 21 Pilots is like the Clash. It's like the Clash to them. Ashley doesn't like Guided by Voices. Is 21 Pilots the biggest band from the Midwest? What about Fall Out Boy? Does Fall Out Boy count? They're from like Chicago, right? Or is 21 Pilots really that big? I was watching some videos because I really don't know. I don't know anything about him. The guy's got like a neck tattoo. He's got like black ink all up his neck to like his face. I don't know. When I was trying to do music, and still, I guess, when I was 19, everything we were doing was like very retrograde. We were like trying to be the Beatles. I had a Hofner bass, and it was like, how do we be the Beatles? How do we just do what they did? How do we reproduce their success? We were just copying. And so I think I had to get away from that. But look at 21 Pilots. They don't sound anything like the fucking Beatles. How would you even describe that? It's like hip hop emo. It's like if emo was like hip hop arena rock. That's my sense of what the 21 Pilots is. It's music for people who like love those John Green novels. Oh, they're Christian. Ah. Fuck, are you serious? Who are the 21 Pilots? Is that some kind of Bible thing? It makes sense that the biggest band from Columbus, Ohio would be some kind of weird Christian rock. They got a whole generation to rock out to Christian lyrics. Wow. Well, they probably got some kind of fucking boost. You know, Rod Parsley in the World Harvest Church probably laundered a bunch of money through 21 Pilots. Listen to the song Trees. Read the lyrics. Let's get them right now. Can we get them right now? Trees. I'm going to tell Ashley. What's Ashley going to think when she finds out 21 Pilots are religious? No wonder all these fucking kids are trad caths. I know where you stand, silent in the trees. That's where I am, silent in the trees. Why won't you speak where I happen to be, silent in the trees, standing cowardly? I can feel your breath. I can feel my death. I want you to know. I want to see. I want to say hello, 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 oh, hello. La, 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 da, da. I know. Is this about Jesus? Is that about Jesus Christ? They are devout Christians. Jesus Christ. The other big band from Columbus is what's that band? I Bless the Broken Road. Fuck, what are they called? They're country. God bless the broken road that brought me home to you. Rascal Flatts. That's who's from Columbus. Yeah, so you're welcome. You're welcome. Oh, so this is him talking to God. I see. Come meet me in the trees. Speak to me, God. I can feel your breath. I can feel my death. I see. So he's talking to God here in the trees. Wow. So they're brainwashing kids to be Christian conservatives, basically. He looks to the sky when he sings, like Scott Stapp. Is Creed a Christian rock band, technically? They're devout Christians. Well, okay. There you go. So the fucking 21 Pilots. Well, okay. When I was playing music in Audible Detonation, we used to practice in this Mennonite church. This guy, Lothar, who was in our band, was a Mennonite. This guy's voice was amazing. because he was a Mennonite. He grew up singing, and the church his dad could sing. His dad could wail. One time we were playing and we found the sheet music because they had all this fucking Christian sheet music, and they had this song, Our God is an Awesome God. I don't know if people know this song, Our God is an Awesome God. But apparently there's like a heavy metal. It sounded like a heavy metal song to me. When I sound, I'm like, wow, this sounds dope. Our God is an awesome God. So we played this song with this guy, this Christian Mennonite minister, and it rocked. It sounded like Judas Priest. So anyway, we were practicing in this Mennonite church, and I played bass at that time and sang. And this guy comes up to me because people were watching our practice. We'd like invite people to our practice. Kids from our high school would come watch our fucking practice in this fucking Mennonite church / food kitchen. It was like a food kitchen. They helped all these, like, you know, it's in a bad neighborhood. They helped all these people like eat and stuff, even though they were like ultra conservative. Yeah, it is. It's a big famous Christian song. Our God is an awesome God. And so this guy comes up to me after the practice, and I don't know, he was friends with, you know, the church or something. And he was like, you should get involved in playing these like Christian concerts because you can make like tens of thousands of dollars for these gigs to play these like big Christian arena. He's like, you got good fingers. Your fingers, like you've got, you know, bass player fingers. You could do this, you know, you could get a job like playing in these like Christian bands. You make $10,000 a gig. And I would have pursued it. I didn't really know how to go about doing that when I was 19 years old, but it's a big business. Christian rock. And I mean, honestly, you know, that's where all of the fucking music comes from. That's where fucking rock and roll came from. It came from church music. And even now, it's like, you know, a lot of the fucking like best musicians, most innovative shit, a lot of the new sounds, the funkiest shit, it all comes out of like church fucking music, to be honest. Like, there's this song I put on this playlist, my cocktail hour playlist. Kirk Franklin. Do you know Kirk Franklin? I forget what it's called. I saw it in Norbit, the Eddie Murphy movie, Norbit. And it's like basically like a gospel song, but like now. It sounds like hip hop almost, but it's like got this, it's otherworldly, you know, the bounce in this fucking song, and like the lift and like the buoyancy in this fucking song. It's like, it's because it's fucking like worship music, you know, like look at Kanye Sunday services, giant Christian festival called Cornerstone. Okay. Yeah. Or like gospel music. I love some of these fucking like gospel, this guy, what's his name? Gaither or something. Some of these bass singers and these gospel quartets are unbelievable. So I'll watch videos of these fucking like gospel quartets and shit. You know, it's like that is rock and roll music. Elvis, that was devotional music. You know, it's like rock and roll is just sort of converting it to its own purposes, this other sort of, you know, commercial spectacle. But it's, you know, all of those fucking early rock and roll people came out of church music, basically. Jerry Lee Lewis or Springsteen, you know, that's something. Bill Gaither, there you go. Some of those fucking quartets are unbelievable. Like, I get why they get paid tens of thousands of dollars. Like, Elvis fucking sang with those guys. Like, and, you know, those are beautiful songs. A lot of them are fucking beautiful songs. I don't know. Bill Gaither, there you go. It makes sense. Music is like this spiritual thing. It's like a holy thing. Uh, that's why these bands like inspire such devotion in the fan base. Like these Springsteen fucking I know you hate Bruce Springsteen. The first fucking thing he talks about in his Broadway show is how he grows up next to a church. And so like religion, he's surrounded by God. Is what he says. And it's kind of corny. It's really corny actually, the way that Springsteen like affects, like he's like this white gospel soul man pastor of like, democracy in like America and rock and roll. And it's like, it's corny. It's super corny. And, a lot of Springsteen's live stuff can be really amazing, but I don't know, man. His band, it's so slow. It just sounds like some giant big interstate to me. Springsteen, he just sounds like the fucking interstate now. It's like his band is too big. His guitar is too fucking like gray. It's just this big gray pile of shit. His voice isn't that good. He tries to sing like he's fucking like Sam and Dave or something. And it's like, I guess that was cool to guys who were born in like 1950 or whatever, but it's a little appropriative. Watching him and Steve Van Zandt sing "I Don't Want to Go Home" or whatever, it's like they're ripping off Sam Cooke so hard. And it's just like these are two old white guys. Like, what? How did they get away with this for so long? Like, that's something that's in that Ian Svavonius book. He talks about how American musicians could not rip off uh Atlanta rhythm section. Yeah, a lot of R&B and shit like, D'Angelo. Did D'Angelo start in the church? D'Angelo, rest in peace. He's got a very kind of like gospel. Even Prince. Prince feels like very like gospel to me. Everything Prince is like super up tempo. And like, he's sort of coming from James Brown. He's coming from Sly and the Family Stone. It's like all of that is fucking church music, really. It goes berserk because it starts doing speed and, the fucking machines get out of control. But, one of the first places I heard like a 5 or a 6-string bass and that really low bass sound was like in church music. Gospel music from like the 90s. They started to use like those 6-string basses. And as somebody who always played a 4-string bass, you're kind of like, they can't do that. That's like, what the hell is that sound? That's not like a normal fucking rock and roll sound. That real low metallic sounding bass note. But it's like they were way ahead on that. That shit always, like, look at R. Kelly. R. Kelly, like somebody like that. They own, that's where you learn to sing like that. You learn to sing like that in church. Whitney Houston, like her mom was some kind of like gospel singer, sang with Elvis and shit. Because in church you do sing. You're singing with the congregation. You're strengthening your vocal cords. If you're in church all through your childhood, particularly like a gospel church, maybe not white people church. Every church I ever went to, the choir just sounded like emaciated. White people really are afraid to sing. They didn't really know how to hit the notes. There was no like melisma. There was no belting in white people church. It just sounds like a bunch of ghosts in the willows. It's just all very like Christ is born, Christ is risen, Christ will come again. Whereas like, gospel church, it's like they're belting and shit. It's like your diaphragm, your throat is getting stronger. Like You don't learn how to do that in white people church. I'm sorry. They're just not putting their whole ass into it. They don't have the Holy Ghost power for some reason. Maybe in like country church, like these evangelical churches, some of those white people can sing. Like I've definitely heard white people on like, the Christian conservative circuit, and like they can fucking sing. They sound like they're in fucking like In Sync and shit. Or 21 Pilots. There's a perfect example. Like they're innovative. I don't know, man. Like there's a lot of fucking religion in this country, and it affects people even if they don't stay in it. Like if you grew up around religion, if your parents were religious, if you went to some kind of religious academy, like more and more these fucking charter schools are like weird Christian conservative, like World Harvest Church in Columbus, Ohio. There was this guy, Rod Parsley. He was like the televangelist. And he had a giant fucking house. My friend told me this story. They wanted to like get an estimate. He wanted to build some kind of like entertainment center in his fucking bedroom or something. And the guy gave him an estimate, and Rod Parsley was like, well, you really should just donate it to the church because like that would be the right thing to do. So the guy was clearly like a righteous gemstone type fucking corrupt, stealing from poor people basically. And probably had a fucking private jet. But World Harvest Church was like a big fucking school, and like their football team was awesome. They probably had dope ass music. They prey upon poor people who just don't know any better, who are good hearted. These people want to be, or some of them are, maybe not all of them, but it's the same people who go into the military and shit. And so whether or not, they stay in that fucking church, you see it in like the aesthetic of certain shit from like middle America has like weird Christian, like Evanescence, or even that band Paramore feels like kind of Christian in a way to me. Like there's certain people that you meet that like, were like hip people and like maybe even like went to art, like in Columbus, you're always meeting these people like go to art school and shit. Like they go to CCAD, but they're from like some kind of Christian conservative background. And so it's like they might even have tattoos and shit. Like don't a lot of fucking, a lot of these pastors and shit have got shitloads of tattoos. Like Bieber. Isn't Bieber super Christian? He's got all fucking neck tattoo and shit. When did it become like de facto Christian doctrine to have like a fucking face tattoo? Something like Post Malone, or like, country music in this country probably has some kind of weird Christian propaganda, I'm sure. New country, nouveau country. And the old country, it's all kind of fucking the Grand Ole Opry. What's more fucking like church coded than that? So, they make some, they train people to fucking play music. A lot of fucking people learn, and you don't see that culture quite as much in New York, but there are, like in Park Slope, we live next to this church. So they'd like in the summertime, a bunch of like people would bus in from like other states to like volunteer and stay in New York for a summer, and fucking they'd hand out water on the corner when it was hot to like talk to people about Jesus or whatever. I remember two guys when I was at Ohio State came up to me once. I was sitting on the Oval reading or writing or whatever, and these guys came up and started talking to me about Jesus. I talked to them for like a couple hours about they were trying to, I don't know, recruit me or accept Jesus Christ as my personal savior. The guy said something about how having Christ in your life was like he's like, imagine like fucking being married to like the hottest chick in the planet, like forever. It's like, well, that's never no, that's kind of a stupid example, but I don't know, man. It's it's just weird. Does it seems to help a lot of people in a way. I will say that. Like, I don't just want to shit all over it like Bill Maher. I'm not really like necessarily anti-religion, but there are aspects of it that become like anything, I suppose, where predators can prey upon people that are looking for help or looking for answers or looking for guidance, looking for community. But, religion is like show business. There's music, there's poetry, there's food, there's wine. It's a reading basically. They got a fucking podium. Yeah, I mean a lot of people like it does like give them, you know, like a tranquility and like a structure and I don't necessarily think that what it says in the Bible is bad if you actually read it. I like Alan Jackson a lot. Do you like Alan Jackson? Now that dude is fucking country. Like you can tell that's somebody that takes their faith seriously. Like I respect that. It sucks when people take advantage of those people, when politicians utilize that, to fucking like get votes. Or people like Rod Parsley, take advantage of, poor people who don't have money to send to fucking mega church, like Joel Osteen or whatever. Joel Osteen, like, how much fucking money does that guy make? I mean, just look at him. There's an element of like self help to the modern arena rock of God that is like these weird, like mega churches. But, I mean, rock stars are getting rich. Taylor Swift is getting rich. It's all, I mean, rock and roll is totally just like a surrogate. It's a similar structure. It's like a cult structure. You have a logo, you have a dogma, you have fucking songs and shit. Let's see here. Oh. Hello. What's up? I don't know. What do you want to eat? Okay. Well, I had that yesterday. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that fish place, or is there anything on the way for you, or okay, well, something probably like that, I guess. It's exciting what's happening for dinner here. My live stream. I'm live right now. Doesn't look like it's raining that bad. Okay. Well, in that case, why don't you just come back here and then we'll figure it out. Okay. Okay. Well, you should just get a small little something then, probably on your way. Okay. Well, then just do that. Okay. Love you too. Bye. Bye. Okay. Anyway, I probably get off soon Bruce Halliday says hi, Ashley. I'll tell her that you said hello. Um, what the hell were we talking about? Christian. Religion in this country, man. And music. How it fuels the music in this country and in the world. People get together and they sing. And the South, I don't know. That's where it all comes from. Other than 21 Pilots, they're from fucking Columbus, Ohio somehow. How'd they get mixed up in all of it? I mean, there's a lot of fucking Christian people out there. And that's probably why it's a red state now in a certain way. Hell is real. The billboard, that's in Ohio. It's another thing they use. I'll do 3 hours. I'll go to 3 hours and then I'll be done. So I'll do 10 more minutes. Ashley's on her way back now. She's taking the bus. Was there anything else I needed to talk about? Anything else on the agenda? Say in the chat if anybody. We got 10 minutes. It's a lightning round. Sign up for next week at the open mic. It's Stones week. We're doing Rolling Stones, more boomer rock. Retreads. Everything's a cover band. That's all people want to hear. They just want to hear the old songs. We have enough great songs. No one's writing any more classics, really. Even the Backstreet Boys are like golden oldies at this point. I heard I Want It That Way the other day. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is like nostalgia. This is like a nostalgia piece. Patti Smith, new book out. That's right. It's another memoir. Another fucking memoir from Patti Smith. Yeah, I mean, I'll check it out. It's probably dope. Good for Patti Smith cranking out fucking novels and shit. I picked up this book at the library yesterday, Banal Nightmare. I'm trying to sort of look at what's going on in like storytelling world. Because that's what sells. I look at my poetry book and I'm just like, this is not commercial. Whereas like these novels, these movies, people want narrative, but it's also just like, I don't know. It's a way of synthesizing experience in the world that I'm kind of curious about how people are doing. I'm trying to read these like novels that are like, oh, this is the like millennial novel, or, like this is like, I'm always trying to figure out. So somebody said, Gia Tolentino of the New Yorker said this girl's novel was the the millennial novel or something. So they didn't have that one, but they had this book, Banal Nightmare, which is about, a writer from the Midwest who returns to their fucking hometown or whatever after 10 years in the city, getting their ass kicked and being in a relationship and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, is everything a fucking cliche? Is everything you try to do a cliche now? Like, it doesn't matter how interesting you try to be. Nothing's original. Everybody's vlogging everything. Everybody's traveling the world vlogging. They're moving to New York and vlogging. They're teaching in universities in the Midwest and they're vlogging about it. They're writing novels about it. More novels, more vlogging, more narrative, more story. A lot of these people have a similar like resume where it's like they wrote 2 independent films and then they fucking came out with a novel. They tried to make it in the film industry, and then when they didn't, they did this instead. So I'm just trying to keep abreast of what the hell is going on out there. It feels like even as a poet or somebody who predominantly like I'm trying to figure out how to trick my brain into writing something normal again, which I can't seem to figure out how to do. I think I've just fucked my head so much that like I can't write anything linear that makes sense anymore. It just feels boring. Well, AI can do that, right? That's the big thing is like now you can literally just put a fucking prompt into AI and it will like do the breadth of like the manual labor for you as far as like whatever you would be able to sit down and like crank out day after day as like trying to compound something into like a novel, a script. It's like AI can literally do it like that. Not to say that that is replacing doing it, but it feels like you're in a race or something. Even if you don't want to be, it feels like, oh my God, that can do that so fast. Like that. I'm just, part of the reason why my writing process sort of disintegrated into what it is economic. Like if you're in this permanent state of like economic precarity, or like you don't feel like you have a foundation, it's very hard to like build sentences on that, build like an ongoing narrative. It's like then you have to dump all this time. You have to find space. You have to find quiet. You have to find, a lot of my writing process is about distraction because that's what I'm capable of doing out in the world. Things invade your focus, things you overhear, things you see, you're interrupted, you got to get up off the bus, whatever it is. You're at the library, it closes, you got to schlep your stuff to fucking Whole Foods so you stay out of the fucking cold. And so this is all, trying to write a novel. I guess it's discipline. I guess it's this is something I've been thinking about like with Springsteen. Looking back on my own life, it's like I guess I would say if you want to be successful, like on some kind of like big scale, it's like you have to knock people on their ass. You have to knock people on their ass, like the Beatles do. And it's like if you listen to these early Springsteen songs, it's like they're long. There's shitloads of lyrics. There's shitloads of chords. Springsteen has this fucking work ethic. He's able to organize his ideas. Van Zandt said this thing about Springsteen's always got 5 songs that he's in his pocket. He's got half an album at any time. It's like because the dude sits down and works. He memorizes his shit. He rehearses with his band. He's always jumping onto gigs. He drops in at a club. He's playing with fucking Southside Johnny or some weird pickup band or some bar band or something. It's like the dude is always, he's not a drug addict. He's not an alcoholic. He's a workaholic. And, so as a result, it's like he made all of these songs that just like, I mean, literally for these albums, he records like 80 fucking songs. It's like these are fleshed out songs. They all have lyrics. They all have like a, chorus and shit. He's able to put all these tracks albums and shit. And it's like there's a lot of good material on there. And so it's like shepherding, materializing an idea from a seed into verses, lines, verses, rhymes, filling out the story, doing it the right way, making it catchy, writing other parts, writing a chorus, writing a bridge, or like, a novel or a short story or a fucking poem that like somebody else is going to want to hear, want to remember, or does something, crystallizes an idea. It's like you've got to be on the conveyor of that process like at all fucking times. It's like you've got to be making shit. basically. For me, it has been poetry. Like the last 5 years, I've been working on this New York book. Like I've sort of embraced like a sloth and a lazy process and just let things come to me. Uh, because that was part of the fucking experiment and part of the fucking rhythm of doing it. You know, uh, and I think you see that with the Beatles too. It's like they cranked out finished product. They finished these fucking songs. How they did it, I don't know. How did they have the discipline and lack of ego and willing to like go through discomfort to like shed the bad ideas, edit the fucking stuff that didn't work, let the magic happen, capture the magic, actually fit it into something. Uh and so for me it's like I can't really point to any one thing where I'm like, this is it. This is like it's like you kind of have to bet everything on one thing, I think. If you really want to make it, it's like you got to make a movie, you got to write a novel, whatever it is. You know, if you're a poet, that means like you got to win some contest, I think, actually. You got to win the fucking Chapbook Society of America. Like you got to win the fucking, you know, uh, Discovery Award or whatever, the Ruth Lilly Prize or the fucking, you got to do what Ashley did. You got to win this fucking book. That's how people go, oh, okay, you've arrived. Who is this? And by doing that, it just means you have to make like finished work. It's like you have to make things that like people want to fucking see, they want to read, they want to hear. Like it's that fucking simple. Like it's not really about you. It's like you got to make something that works. And you got to keep working until I don't know. It's just like I get so caught up in like process. I'm more of a process. Uh, and I don't know. The internet, I think, invites people to like share things that are unfinished or share things as you go, or even just do things live, like do things on the fly, improvise, stream. I've sort of been embracing that stuff, learning. I've been trying to learn how to do live. It's like, what do you have to show for that? 10 years of live performance. The only thing you have to show for that is like a stage capability, a stage presence, um, an experience, like you're broken in or something. It's not like it's like this, Ben Lerner published this fucking book and like, everybody fucking read it and it was on this list and blah, blah, blah. It's like, one of the things about the Beatles and I guess every artist is like you're learning as you go. Like the Beatles were young. They were fucking all right, there you go. Getting paid to listen to fucking scenes from a life. Bullshit about classic rock. I'm gonna go till Ashley comes back because I've got 4 people watching, and this is just a huge fucking honor to be yapping. And but yeah, you can see the Beatles developing, and like when they try something, it's like not only like practice, but it's also like it works. And somehow you've got to incorporate your practice into things that. And the other thing is like what it's like you need some kind of like virtuoso skill. I hate to say it, but like I feel like if you really want to make it in show business, it's like you need like to be able to do something that just like normal people can't do, and like very rare, and uh like even somebody like Ace Frehley. You look at this guy play guitar, it's like, is he, he's pretty fucking good. Like he's better than every dickhead at Guitar Center, I guarantee you. He's got a more swag, he's got a more interesting style. And just like when you listen to him play, you're like, fuck, this guy knows what he's doing. He's got a few tricks up his sleeve. Got the White Album for Christmas. What did you think of the White Album when you got it? Did you like it, or? It's amazing, that's part of the miracle of the Beatles, is like they were able to get something like the fucking White Album into like every home in like the fucking world. Like the White Album is so esoteric in a lot of ways. It's about God, and it's about, politics and Glass Onion, and it's weird as hell. It's kind of spooky in certain ways. It's got Revolution Number 9 on it, which, you have to, when it was an album, it's like you got to sit there and fucking listen to that. You can't just skip it to the next track. Well, the reason I ask is a lot of people don't like the White Album. They're like, they think it's too long or it's messy. That's why I relate to it, I guess, because I think that's maybe a little more. It's important that they showed that side. It's almost like there's demos on that album. Whereas like Sgt. Pepper's is something that's so like perfect and like immaculate and aesthetically unified, and the White Album is so different than that. There's sketches and there's pencil work and there's fleshed out. A lot of the White Album feels like glam rock to me. Things like Sexy Sadie. It feels like a lot of the 70s comes out of the White Album. Things like Elton John. I feel like Elton John, Billy Joel can totally be traced to like the White Album. Like Martha, My Dear, and all that music hall kind of glam, glitzy, razzle dazzle, almost like Broadway. That all like comes out of the fucking White Album, it feels like. Cry Baby Cry almost feels like a glam rock song. So a lot of that guitar work on the White Album feels like Bowie guitar work. There's certain parts of the White Album that really feel like Bowie to me. Sexy Sadie, nah, 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 nah. All that guitar stuff on that is like super glam rock. And the piano and shit is super epic with that echo. And yet there's stuff that's super earthy, Mother Nature's Son, acoustic. That's one of the other things I love about the White Album is there's tons of acoustic guitar, which, is not always true of the Beatles albums. The White Album is just shitloads of finger picking. It's a great finger picking. How many people learned how to finger pick from the White Album? Fucking, what do they call it? Travis method or something? Merle Travis invented Travis picking. That's how I learned. I've got some fucking tablature for like Julia and Dear Prudence kind of have like a similar finger picking. I mean, Julia, that's a crazy fucking song. That song, it's almost too personal or something. It plays at the end of is that side 1 or side 2? I guess it's side 2. And it's intense. It's like looking at some kind of fucking statue or something. It's like a graven image. And Glass Onion. Glass Onion is a song that I really didn't appreciate until recently. I've been kind of getting into Glass Onion. The concept of that song being it's about these Beatles scholars who like study the music. Like John Lennon said, he wanted to write a song that sort of like confused them and made fun of them. So it was almost like written on assignment or like for a purpose. I think that's kind of interesting. And it's surreal and poetic. There's a lot of that. Fucking there's so many songs in the White Album that's like you can't even fucking Savoy Truffle. You know, Savoy Truffle, to me, that horn sound on that record, I don't know if there's ever been a better horn sound than Savoy Truffle. The horns on Savoy Truffle really sound like cream tangerine. They sound like that song's all about like chocolate and candy and eclairs and shit. It's very rich. It's very gooey. It's like caramel. Savoy Truffle. The background vocals. John Lennon is like he's always hearing these like, you know, these like falsetto kind of like chorus. He's the master of that. Fame, fame. What's your name? He's always adding that little funny kind of like falsetto background voice. So, I mean, you know, why don't we do it in the road? Like, that's a fucking 12-bar song. It's repetitive. It's kind of dumb, but, you know, there weren't really albums like that, it feels like, that were like a collage and it's almost more like a fucking, there you go. See, well, okay, this is also something, Adam S., that I'm glad you brought up, is like my brother Jack, like, hates the Beatles. Like, it was like annoying in my house growing up. I listened to the Beatles like all the fucking time. Like, literally, once I found my fucking parents' Beatles albums, it's like all I goddamn listened to for like, you know, most of high school. I was goddamn, you know, if you want to be an artist, the Beatles are really not a bad thing to just like learn everything about them, because it's almost just like they were just like normal guys, is how it feels. You know, like if you look at McCartney, talk about how he wrote some of these songs and how he learned to play piano, it's like he just figured it out himself. Like they don't actually know that much about music. Like it's just he's like, yeah, we played this chord, then we figured this one, then that one. It's oh, that was nice. And, you know, it's like they just had a lot of time on their hands, and they fiddled around with the shit till it popped. But I can understand why people find them fucking annoying. You know, if you're not into the Beatles, like they probably are like the most annoying fucking thing on earth, or uh it's once again, it's like I think in light of all like the punk music or that movement was like very like, oh, this boomer shit that like our parents like sucks. Like fuck the Beatles, and like hippies are so gross and they're all fucking like fake and uh I don't know. It's just like, how can you hear that music and like not be? Maybe it's cheesy and maybe it's like super energetic and like you got to be just sort of fucking, I don't know, gay or something, for lack of a better word. I mean, the Beatles are pretty gay. Let's be honest. Well, there's a lot of talk over the past few years of like maybe Paul and John were gay, or if they were to come up now, they'd be gay. Oh, I got to play this for you. This is one of the best things I've ever seen on TikTok. I'm going to share this TikTok video. This is the Beatles if they were born today and they were like God, where is this? Shit. I don't know what. I've got it in one of my playlists, but I'm not really sure. It's like if the Beatles were like Ali G or something. I don't know what the hell you call like Ugg rap or mumble rap. It's like if the Beatles were like mumble rap. Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find this. Fuck. Shit. Is it on my music? Maybe it's on my music. It's just like it's AI shit, but it's like so well done. It's like crazy. Fuck. Oh, this is really nice. Let me play. This is the original demo. I don't know. It's like a lot of the demo shit we've never heard. John Lennon said the Beatles' best music was never recorded, which is hard to believe, but like I get what he's saying. You know, like that sounds incredible. John Lennon singing fucking Yellow Submarine, and it's like, I feel locked out from the Beatles. I don't know the lore. I mean, well, that's part of what I am kind of annoyed about the Beatles with is like there's just such a machine of like publicity and sort of honing everything down to these like the lore. You know, like everybody knows, like, oh, did you know the first feedback on a fucking record was I Feel Fine? And oh, that was the first time they did this. And it's like, who fucking cares? Like, why are people so like just like brainwashed and like yeah, music can do a lot of interesting things, you know, like the Beatles texturally, you know, like in a world where there's fucking 9 Inch Nails and like, you know, I was at Union Square last night and there was like this fucking like rave, like Halloween roller skating rave. It's like it's like this is what people listen to now. Like they listen to fucking like ounce music. It's like that's way different than the fucking Beatles. Like the Beatles sound like naive. When you listen to that now, it's like hard to believe there was a world that was that like pure or something. Well, like literally everybody's like, yeah, we love this. We love this like poppy, you know. Yeah, the Beatles were definitely innovators of you know, like something like Tomorrow Never Knows, right? A lot of people point to as like some kind of early, it's almost like drum and bass or something. It's almost like it's loops, uh it's that backbeat, it's the fact that it's this drone. It sounds like fucking, you know, it could have come out in the 90s or something. And so their influence is everywhere, you know, and uh to me, like I the Beatles like songs are like that's another thing that's like kind of miraculous about them is like you can learn most of them. Most of them you can pick up a guitar and like you don't really need to be that good. You can sort of figure out how to play most of them. Or like there's tablature. I had this book when I was a kid. It was like the complete Beatles. It had every fucking Beatles song like tabbed out with the chords. It was like I sat there and fucking played along to the goddamn records. Like that's how I learned how to play music. I wanted to learn how to play like Paul McCartney, basically. Like his bass playing, I really did think was like the best. There was something about that early Beatles music that I felt like very tied to, and I still do. I still think it's like, I don't know, it's just it's positive masculinity, maybe in a certain way. And his bass playing is just like on fire. All right, I have to get this thing now. I got to get this barbecue lighter because I ran out of lighter fluid in my other thing. Remember the Dave Clark 5? I mean, well, the Dave Clark 5 was actually the band that we never covered the Beatles really in Audible Detonation because my brother hated the Beatles. So it's like any Beatles song, it's like, we're not doing that. It's just not happening. He had more kind of like esoteric music tastes than me. He was like into the Beastie Boys a lot. He had the Prodigy record. He was into Talking Heads. He really liked Johnny Rotten a lot. He thought Johnny Rotten was like, this inspirational guy or something. Which like the Beastie Boys are a pretty interesting band actually. Now that I'm older, I get more what they were doing, and they were pretty innovative. But in high school, I didn't really, I didn't really, I liked them, but like, I wasn't like studying them or anything. And so I was more into like 60s fucking music. I like music from the 50s and 60s, basically. Uh, and the Dave Clark Five. But so we couldn't, like, for instance, we could never play I Saw Her Standing There in Audible Detonation. It would just be too cringe and corny. But we could play, when we did play Can't You See That She's Mine by the Dave Clark Five. And the Dave Clark Five, I think, are sort of underrated. Like, their records for that era, like, really sounded huge. The drum sound and the bass sound, like, fucking was huge on for that era. And that song, Can't You See That She's Mine, it's almost like a rewrite of I Saw Her Standing There. It's a very similar, like, it's a rapid fire bass thing, and it's sort of similar chords, fast, up tempo rock number. So we played the Dave Clark Five. I mean, the Dave Clark Five are very Beatle-esque because I love you. They have a lot of great songs, actually. The Dave Clark Five has, like, they're slept on. I'm gonna say it. They're slept on. But are they from Liverpool, or they're from like fucking? I saw some shit recently where I think the Beatles were talking positively about the Dave Clark Five. Like they liked the Dave Clark Five. They thought, okay, these guys are doing something. Iggy Pop, of course, we did Iggy Pop night. Is that a joke? We've been talking about Iggy Pop. I was never like the biggest Iggy Pop. Like the first times I listened to the Stooges, I didn't really like it, to be honest. Playing in Audible Detonation, people were always coming up to us and talking about the Stooges. Like, you guys must love the Stooges and blah, blah, blah. Because the Stooges are from Detroit. And they had that kind of Detroit, like, ass-kicking giant sound. Motor City, in your face. But I just never really, like, a lot of the cool, they're a cool band. Cool people like the fucking Stooges. Like, the same people who like, I don't know, Richard Hell or The Cure, or the Misfits. It's like they like the Stooges. If you like Jerry Only, you probably like the Stooges. My brother was like more of a scene guy than I was. I was always more just like kind of a theater kid, I guess. But when I got older, about 10 years ago, on Spotify, there was an Iggy Pop song, Fall in Love with Me. And I was in love with somebody, and it just seemed to completely encapsulate the pathetic feeling of what it's like to want somebody to want you. And it's got this kind of like, broken, unbalanced, yearning, clownish, harlequin, hurdy-gurdy quality with a big fat roly-poly bass. Iggy Pop really knows his shit. He is a genius, I think. And his lyrics are great. He's a great songwriter. He makes great records. And his lyrics are, that's the thing that like drew me in. I was like, oh, Iggy Pop is like, he's read poetry, definitely. He's got a song called Egg on Plate. I'm like, that's an incredible title. Like, And like I did a whole fucking live stream about Iggy Pop a few weeks ago after Iggy Pop night. So you can go back and watch that one, but if you want. But there's this concert on YouTube that I encourage people to watch in France in the 90s. And he brings this woman on stage and dances with this woman and basically like flirts with this woman. And then he starts playing these Stooges songs and he pulls his pants down and he literally plays like 3 or 4 fucking Stooges songs with his penis like hanging out. Like literally you're seeing his penis in the video. Like he is naked. His penis is hanging out. He's on stage. People are going berserk in the audience. It's hard to believe you're even seeing it because you're like, could somebody do this now? Like they would probably get arrested or something. Like there's no way that this would like sustain as long as it does. And you're just like, this is so fucking wild. Like his body looks insane. Like he's ripped. Oh, really? Iggy and Jarmusch, huh? Oh God, yeah, Jarmusch. He did the documentary. I haven't seen that. Maybe we should watch that. Jarmusch's Stooges documentary. But he's a total wild man. He's sort of hard to relate to in a way because he's just so like crazy and the guy just has so much spirit and life force, you know. And he's still out there. There was sort of an Iggy, you know, buzz in the air after that CBGB festival because a lot of people in New York went and posted about it and blah blah blah. It was under the K Bridge, as everybody calls it now, Cuomo Mamdani. So yeah, I mean, Jerry and the Pacemakers were another Mercy side, which I love Mercy music. Mercy side music is probably my favorite music ever made. There's just something special going on. I think because it's a port city. You know, these port cities, they bring in a lot like New Orleans. They said the Mersey scene was somewhat like it was in New Orleans because there's just such a confluence of, you know, strains and people from all over the world. You know, when you're sailing places, it suddenly becomes way more international. You're not landlocked. Traveling over land until very recently, the last couple hundred years, right, was like the best case they could have was like a canal. And that's not even land. That's like fucking water. You know, that's like as fast as they were going to go. It was like a fucking canal. So it was water once again. So it's just like port cities, everything gets there faster. Things combine. I mean, that's the thing about music is like it melds together. You know, you can combine different styles, and that's how new forms happen. And you know, the Beatles were a blend of a lot of traceable influences, you know. They learn from everything. You know, they learn from rockabilly, they learn from Chuck Berry, they learn from Little Richard, they learn from Elvis. They learn from fucking just weird records. Gene Vincent. A lot of fucking, you know, that I think that moment in the late 50 to 8 to like 60 with the Crickets and Buddy Holly and Gene Vincent and Eddie Cochran. That shit was really influential in the Beatles because that's when they were first playing and sort of banding and gigging and stuff. They really did gig. I think that's one thing that like sort of gets overlooked is they played coffee houses, you know, way before Hamburg. They were going places and playing music, the Casbah or little pubs and shit. They were basically doing open mics. Or, you know, it was probably a similar setup to that rather than like a more of like a gig show with a band and drums and shit. The gigs they played early on were probably more like open mics, like a couple of guys with guitars, maybe a piano, just in like some fucking coffee house or something. Beat era type skiffle shit. So Eric Burden and the Animals, they're all British. Well, so one of the things Ian Svavonius was saying was like, because of racial uh, dynamics in the United States, it didn't feel appropriative. It felt like a tribute. You know, when these British bands, like when the Rolling Stones have Howlin' Wolf or whatever on Shindig with them, you know, and they pay tribute to their heroes, and you know, the Beatles fucking and the Ronettes and Motown, and it's like, you know, the Beatles were vocal about they didn't want to play to segregated audiences, and so they were progressive for that time. Um, but it wasn't looked at like necessarily like this is. It would have looked different if it was a bunch of white American people doing it. Is sort of what Ian Svavonius is talking about. It's like it wouldn't, you know, at that time. You know, I suppose there probably were, but like, you know, if you look at somebody like Mick Jagger or Eric Burden or these British blues guys, it's like it's you know, they're kind of doing a fucking they're trying to sound like, you know, they're trying to sound like Muddy Waters or Howlin' Wolf or something, you know, and it's like I guess so is Captain Beefheart, but uh you know, I think that's another thing that sets the Beatles apart is their music was drawn from a more variety of genres. There's like a music hall thing, which we don't totally get in the United States. It's like almost like vaudeville, which like the Velvet Underground has a little bit of that, or Bowie and things. Uh, Country, you know, there's a country influence in a lot of the Beatles stuff. Um, there's probably like even like a German influence. You know, there's probably like in the booming kind of like bass and the 1-5 thing. You know, I mean, they were playing in Hamburg 15 years after World War II. That's just so strange. Uh, yeah, I don't know. It's mysterious to me. Like England's population is not that huge. They have like 30 million people or something. And yet they have all this cultural influence musically. There's so many fucking British rock stars, Phil Collins, David Gilmour. I mean, there's just so many. There's so many. Queen, you know, it's like United States is a much bigger country, and yet I do think Adam S is totally right. I think the British probably did reorient the like things like James Bond. You know, like James Bond was also coming into the culture at the same time as the Beatles was. You know, they're kind of similar. Like first James Bond movie was what, like 1960, 62, something like that. That's what was a cultural imperialism. You know, the British invasion, I think, was like actually an invasion of a sort. Like, what a huge influence. When Jagger bit a part of his tongue off, he said it made him sound more black. Yeah, I mean, there Mick Jagger, I mean, Jesus Christ. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if in his head that's what he's thinking. If he's like, I want to sound black. I want real be black. I'm with black hair. It's like real black. I wouldn't be surprised if that's literally what he's thinking. And that's not to say that those guys are like racist per se. Like, like they are, they're pretty fucking good at like assimilating their influences, and like they played with fucking Muddy Waters. They played with a lot of their heroes and stuff, and like they've spent time in the South, and like I think that's like a benefit of being a European is like in America we really have to confront all these racial things like head on. Like there is like a complex, and we have to deal with the guilt of what happened in a way that like in England it's like it's not really the same. Like they're not living on like the site of plantations and shit in the same way. They brought that shit here and they did it here. They polluted this place with it. And from Liverpool, they set up. I wonder if the Beatles were born 100 years earlier, if they would have been like slave traders. They were all from fucking Liverpool. That's where it's just so crazy to me, the karma of that. Like this place where all these like slave ships came from. That's where the fucking Beatles are from. It's just so weird. And like rock and roll, I don't know. It does seem like some kind of like neo minstrel show or some like almost like like when I see pictures of like Keith Richards in like Jamaica with like a bunch of like reggae musicians and shit, like he's like one of them. It's like, is this just some kind of new colonialism or like what the fuck is this? Like he's is he I don't know. Is he an opportunist, or is this okay for him to do this? I don't know. He said something about how when Bob Marley and the Wailers came out, he was like, "Oh, these fucking guys were like the Temptations. Like, we'd known them." It's like, you're gonna talk shit about Bob Marley? Like, Jesus Christ. Like Bob Marley's like square or something. It's like, from what I understand, somebody explained Mick and Keith it's almost like being from Westchester. They're from like an affluent suburb that's like not far from London. Like they're not like, Cockney or something. Like Jeff Beck. They're like, they're sort of like, I don't know, just like waspy fashion. Okay, Ashley's almost home, everybody. All right. Well, I'm going to get off then if Ashley's almost home. Ashley's my number 2 and 3 commentator. Okay. Well, good for you, Ashley. All right. I'm going to get off now then. If Ashley's almost home. All right. Well, thank you for watching, everybody. And happy Halloween. Have a great holiday. I'll be at the New York Marathon. I want to check that out. So we'll talk soon, everybody. Have a great Halloween. Okay, Ashley.